Girl, Layla, is a descendant of the Duke Williot family. She entered the family as Finnell's fiancé. Duke Williot's family is extremely prestigious with the named Sword of the Empire. She had become a daughter-in-law to a family with a high reputation. They treated her like their own daughter while she was just a poor local noblewoman. They gave her good food and the things that are good for her body. They gave her pretty and good quality items. They loved her so much that their biological son, Finnell, the male lead, had to be jealous of her. The Duchess has always told her to take care of their son. That the Duke's family is counting on her. For our girl, they had truly loved her with their sincere heart. She had to learn many things from the Duchess, and during that time the male lead began to take swordsmanship seriously. So even though they were engaged, they didn't have many opportunities to meet and talk to each other. However, their relationship was not so bad. She walks past where he was practicing. She sees him resting. She asks him if he has finished his training. Although there was something warm between them as lovers, they weren't as close as soulmates. He calls her, his face moody. She asks him what is wrong, wondering if he heard something stupid. She just wanted to have a little time with him. He is feeling insecure. He asks her if he isn't good enough. She tells him that there's no such thing, that his appearance, taste and strength are exactly the same as the Duke. Between them was a relationship in that they could freely joke and tease each other. She was very happy with life in Duke Williot's family. Life was like playing with her, then suddenly, unhappiness finds her. It's late at night and it's raining too hard. Our girl observes it and comments that they should go help the people of the territory. Her maid tells her that they are already prepared. She tells our girl that she would become a very great duchess. Our girl asks her if she really thinks so. She says yes, that everyone else thinks the same. Suddenly, a maid rushes in and tells her a bad news. Something has happened. The carriage of the Duke and Duchess had accident because of the rain. At that moment, the male lead walks to her sorrowfully. She expresses her fear that they'd be death. He consoles her, telling her not to think too much, that their parents would be okay, that they won't die just like that. She agrees with him. She prayed that they would return to the house. She was expecting to be called beloved daughter, but she never heard that. God didn't answer her prayer. The immature male lead lost his parents. He inherited his father's title. He was depressed and just locked himself in the practice place. Our girl, as a small duchess, had to handle all the affairs in and out the Duke's house. In memory of the deceased Duke and Duchess, she and the male lead decided to postpone their marriage. Then one day the Empress suddenly announced the conquest of the mainland, and so the male lead was sent to battle. 6 years later, our girl is seen in her room being dressed by her maid. Her maid tells her that she would look beautiful. Our is tensed up. It's been 6 years since she met the male lead. The war have ended and he is coming back. After a while, the maid asks her to check herself in the mirror. She comments that our girl is really beautiful, that she looks like an angel. Our girl blushes and tells her to stop. She is shy. Our girl looks at herself, soft dress, beautiful makeup. It's really been a long time and she feels a bit unfamiliar. During the time the male lead was in battle, a lot of things had happened. Crop failure, diseases, but luckily everyone is safe. She is happy that he is coming back. She wonders the kind of man he is after 6 years. The maid gives her approval to go out and she leaves the room. As she walks outside the house, she asks if the whole preparation to celebrate the male lead is done, and they say yes. She steps out, waiting patiently. It is rumored that he is close to the gate. She's thinking about him. He would return with fluttering and passionate love. He comes back to marry her. That's right, if the male lead returns, he would marry her. Her thoughts is cut short by what she sees. She can't believe it. The male lead had returned from the war, with a strange girl in his arms. Her fiancé, who has just returned from the war after 6 years, is holding another woman in his arms. She still can't believe it. The woman has shiny blonde hair, slender and voluptuous figure. Her skin is so soft and her belly looks a little inflated. Could it be that she is pregnant? No, she can't think about that, but the maids behind her also notices that the lady's belly is a little big, they also think the same thing. The whispers continues. They wonder why their master would bring home a pregnant lady. They wonder if she is carrying his child. But our girl is still here. As the whispers continues, Misha, the head maid, can't take it anymore and she tells everyone to keep quiet. Walking closer to our girl, she tries to calm her down, assuring her that the male lead cannot do that kind of thing to her, that there must be some misunderstanding. Our girl is deep in thoughts. She wonders if it is truly a misunderstanding. But if it's true that the lady is pregnant for the male lead, she wonders what she would do. Will she have to rip her hair off and curse her like the other women? Or will she feign ignorance and turn away like a virtuous lady despite feeling resentful on the inside? Does she even have the right to do so? She is not the male lead's real wife, she is just his fiancé. And she's Liela Thebessa, not Layla Williot. She's not a duchess yet, she's just an outsider. The male lead reaches them and climbs down from his horse. He comments that they have grown more reserved within the 6 years. He looks at our girl and asks her if she has forgotten how to speak while he was away. She smiles and tells him no, that she is just a little bit surprised. Trying to bring the woman down from the horse, he asks her why she is surprised. She doesn't understand. Is he asking because he is truly oblivious, or is he testing her? If it's not that, then the child that lady is carrying might not be his. The male lead voice wakes her up from her thoughts. He carries the woman gently in his arms, telling her that she must be very tired because of the long journey. They begin to walk away, with him holding her. The servants begin to gossip. They wonder why the male lead would do that in front of his fiancé. Our girl looks on, speechless. She can't stop the servants from gossiping. Even if their wedding was just for formalities, he shouldn't have done that right in front of her. The male lead stops a little distance ahead. He wants the girl, Sisley, to go to a room and rest because she looks tired from the journey. He calls Misha to lead her to a room. He asks Sisley what kind of room she likes and she replies that she wants a room with a lot of sunshine. He tells Misha to take her to the last room in the east corridor. Our girl is surprised. That room is the Duchess's room. He can't bring someone else into the former Duchess's room. She tells him that the room is the Duchess's room. He asks her if there is any issue with that. She tries to explain what it means. Maybe he has forgotten. She tells him that no one can use that room, it can only be used by the Duchess. He tells her that his father used it, and she also used it. She replies that the Great Duke is the owner, and she only used it to work, she didn't sleep there. He tells her that the room has the best lighting. She still doesn't accept. She replies that there are other rooms with lighting too. She's about to go further but he cuts her short. He tells her that he doesn't think he needs to hear such complaint just because he wants to use a room that no one else is using. He reminds her that it's the owner of the mansion that sets the rules. He turns to the maid and tells her to take some other maids with her so that they'd guide his guest and make sure nothing inconvenience her. The lady walks away with the maids flanking her. The male lead turns to our girl and asks her if she is angry. She replies that she isn't. He says okay. He walks away with Sisley. Our girl watches them sadly. The male lead returned after 6 years on the battlefield, let a strange girl into the Duchess's room. The maid behind her asks her if she is okay. She says she is fine. Within her, she knows that even if she said she isn't okay, nothing is going to change. She prepared very hard to welcome him back, but he brought another girl here. Although she wants to ignore everything and go back to her room, she tells the maid that they should go inside. She had to prepare dinner. She also tells her to keep an eye on the girl, that if she sees anything strange, she should report to her immediately. Because of her position, it is impossible to ignore it. Later that night, our girl is in the office, looking at letters and other matters that she has been attending to. She took the seal and worked for the Duke of Williot's house for 9 years. Because she went to welcome the male lead, she could check the books today. Even those who thought badly of her at first, when she took over the work on behalf of the Duke, after the passage of time, they also took it for granted. But even so, they can't forgive her mistakes, so she always tried to do everything perfectly. It is raining. She picks up a letter that she wrote. She have to check each application one by one to make sure there are no mistakes. She just wants to check this one quickly and finish. Then she remembers she isn't happy with herself. Because she only focused on working, she forgot it was raining outside. When it is stormy outside, she is still scared to cry. It's probably just her obsession with the Duke's death. She wonders if the male lead remembers that. No, he must have forgotten about all her loneliness and fear. That is why he put the other girl in the Duke's room, then asks her if she is angry. After a while, she steps out of the office. Misha tells her that it is time for dinner. She looks so tired. She comments that she was too focused on her work, saying that she is supposed to have dinner with the male lead because this is the first day he returned from war. That is right, it is family's manner, even if looking at his face while eating rice is hard to swallow. The maid tries comments that even if the male lead stayed before he returned, this time, he did bad. Our girl looks at her. She is a child that makes people feel like she is a lovely sister. Her maidservant has always been Misha. As they walk to the dining table, she can see the guards quarreling. Since the return of the male lead, the mansion has gone from quiet to bustling. She doesn't want to get in the way of people who are working hard, so she just quickly passes. A maid walks past them pushing a cart with her. Our girl stops her. She asks her where she is taking the table to when it is almost dinner time. She replies that the male lead wants to have dinner in his room, so they have to take it to him. She adds that he said he is tired and didn't want to go out to eat. They are surprised. Our girl sees a portrait of the family and wonders if she is a member of that family. Although the previous Duke and Duchess said that they consider her as their own daughter. But anyways, that is just their opinion, not the truth. Although she have lived and worked at the Duke of Wiliot's castle for more than 10 years, she wonders if she has always been an outsider. She feels since she isn't the same family as him, it is impossible to tell the male lead that they ought to have a proper meal together. Even though everyone below wants her to be treated fairly, they also know, however, no matter what. She looks at the food. She notices that it is too much for just the Duke. The maid tells her that the male lead wants to have dinner with the guest who came today. Our girl isn't happy. As she sits at her desk, Baron Wizard walks up to her, looking a little rushed. He tells her there's an urgent document that needs to be processed right away. He knows it requires the Duke's attention, but he insists that she can handle it. She listens for a moment, then calmly tells him that from now on, anything related to the Duke's business should go straight to the male lead. She makes it clear she's not the one to deal with it anymore. Our girl is in her room, soaking in the bathtub, lost in thought. Warm water surrounds her, but her mind is elsewhere. What is she supposed to do now? She lets out a sigh, her eyes drifting to the ceiling as memories from just a few hours ago play in her head. Baron Wizard had barged into her office, a stack of documents in hand. He looked serious, saying they needed to be handled immediately. She picked them up, flipping through them, but the more she read, the more irritated she felt. Why was she still dealing with this? The male lead wasn't absent. Right now, he was probably out somewhere, laughing, eating, and drinking with that girl. Meanwhile, she was stuck with this? Frustration bubbled up inside her. Without a second thought, she tossed the documents back at Baron Wizard, telling him that if it's urgent, then take it to the male lead. From now on, this wasn't her responsibility. The Duke was back, and she had no reason to keep doing his job. Baron Wizard walks down the long hallway, holding a stack of documents in his hands. Even though he has worked in Duke Wiliot's household for 30 years, today feels different. For the first time, he finds himself completely bewildered. The Duchess had told him to take the documents to the male lead. Just like that. No explanation. And now, as he walks, he can't help but wonder, will the male lead even understand all of this? Reaching his destination, he steps inside and hands the documents over. The male lead takes one look at them, then raises an eyebrow. Why is this being brought to him? Isn't this supposed to be handled by our girl? His voice is calm, but there's a hint of confusion. Baron Wizard hesitates for a moment before answering. Up until now, our girl had been handling everything on his behalf since he was absent. The male lead listens, then leans back slightly, crossing his arms. But she also did the work when he wasn't absent. That's the part that doesn't make sense. Baron Wizard knows exactly what the male lead is talking about. In his mind, he thinks back to that time when the male lead had locked himself away in the training grounds, drowning in guilt over his parents' death. He wasn't physically absent, but he had shut himself off from everything. And it was our girl who made the decision to step in, taking care of things while he avoided the world. And now? She had told Baron Wizard to bring it to him. No hesitation, no room for argument. Something had definitely changed. The male lead leans back, thinking to himself. Maybe our girl just hasn't seen him in a while and wants an excuse to grumble at him. That sounds like something she would do. Before he can dwell on it any longer, a voice calls out from behind. It's Sisley. He turns to see her standing there, looking impatient. He asks her what's wrong. She lets out a small sigh and pouts. She's bored. Does he still have a lot left to discuss? He shakes his head, telling her to go sit down. She's pregnant, she shouldn't be stressing herself over little things. She should rest. Turning back to Baron Wizard, he gives a simple order to take the documents back to our girl. He feels she was just upset earlier, but she'll handle them. Baron Wizard hesitates. He tells him that the documents need to be finished today. There's no time to go back and forth. The male lead doesn't waver. He gives Baron a firm look and orders him to do as he said. No more discussion. He turns the key in the lock, ignoring the man's protests from the other side of the door. The sound of the lock clicking into place is final. There's no room for argument. Inside the room, Sisley watches him, her expression curious. After a moment, she tilts her head and asks if his fiancée's name is Layla. Without hesitation, he nods. Yes. She hums in response, a small smile playing on her lips. They must be really close, then. The way they talk, just using each other's names without any honorifics, it's casual, familiar. That kind of closeness doesn't go unnoticed. He shrugs, unfazed. They've been together since they were kids. It's natural. But Sisley isn't convinced. She crosses her arms and shakes her head. Even so, it's still not proper. Layla isn't just anyone, she's the only daughter of an earl. No matter how long they've known each other, speaking so informally could be seen as disrespectful. She continues, her voice calm but firm. Even if Layla is his fiancée, the nobles won't ignore something like that. They'll find reasons to object. And more than that, our girl should be the one adjusting. She should be the one using honorifics with him. If she doesn't, it won't just affect her, it could make others look down on him, too. All because of her. Baron Wizard appears at the door of our girl again with the documents. She is calm now, she tells him to hand it over. It's obvious that the male lead definitely refused to do it. True, he has not been touching these for 10 years, how can he possibly handle these? However, she cannot do it for him forever, as she is not the one related to the Duke's family. She needs to talk to the male lead about this. She wonders if she should mention the thing about the new girl. The Baron is behind her, watching as she attends to the documents. She coughs and he asks her if she is okay. She smiles and says that she is okay. She hands the document back to him, telling him that she have fixed the unsuitable parts, so he just need to change a little details and it would be ready to be executed. He collects it gratefully and apologizes for bothering her so late at night. She tells him that there is no problem, that he also needs to rest too. He agrees with her, bids her good night and leave immediately. After he leaves, she sits on the bed, still feeling weak. Her body is exhausted, but her mind refuses to rest. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder shakes the room. Her whole body tenses as she instinctively clutches her head. Fear creeps in, but she takes a deep breath, trying to push it away. It's just thunder. Nothing to be afraid of. She repeats the words in her mind, forcing herself to believe them. Lying down, she cuddles her pillow, trying to steady her breathing. Everything will be fine. It's just a storm. It'll pass. But deep down, she knows moments like these are always easier when Misha is around. Misha has always been there, always stayed by her side during nights like this. She remembers the comforting presence, the warmth of someone who never left her alone. But tonight, she's on her own. The thunder rumbles again, louder this time, shaking the windows. The scene shifts to the guest room. The male lead sits with Sisley, the atmosphere quiet, until the next crack of thunder echoes through the walls. Without hesitation, Sisley moves closer to him, her body reacting before she even thinks about it. He notices right away. His eyes flicker toward her as he asks, his voice calm, if she's afraid of it. She nods. Yes. There's a pause before he leans back slightly, as if considering something. Then, with an air of finality, he tells her there's no other choice, he'll have to stay with her tonight. She feels relieved to hear that. A small sense of comfort washes over her. But just as she settles into the moment, she notices Misha standing there, silently watching them. Misha doesn't say anything at first, but the way she looks at them makes it clear she hasn't left yet. Finally, she speaks up, reminding them that she's still here, still in the room. The male lead barely spares her a glance before telling her to leave. His tone is firm, leaving no room for argument. Misha exhales softly, turning toward the door. Just as she reaches for the handle, she hears a voice behind her. Wait. She pauses, glancing back. Sisley shifts slightly, looking up at the male lead. Her expression is troubled, her hand resting on her side. She tells him that her waist and legs hurt, probably from riding the horse for too long. The discomfort is obvious in her voice. He watches her for a moment before asking if she wants him to get her some medicine, but Sisley shakes her head, a small pout forming on her lips. No, not medicine. That wouldn't be enough. Instead, she trails off, leaving the rest unspoken, but the meaning is clear. Misha tells them that when it comes to massage, even a child will do a better job than me, so she will go and call our girl. The male lead cuts her short, ordering her to give Sisley waist massage. She had to do it. The scene shows our girl's room. She is lying on her own. The thunder strikes again. The next morning, our girl is getting dressed up when the male lead enters her room. She is surprised. He is holding a document. He tells her that there is something urgent. He tells her that with him is an invitation to join the celebration of the new emperor's enthronement that is coming up in a month's time. She feels that the time is too close. It takes 4 days to travel to the capital from here. She have to prepare her clothes in the remaining 3 weeks. She have to contact the tailor to make the dress, shoes, and accessories too. She asks him how long he intends to stay in the capital, adding that if he wants to prepare for this party, he would have to start right away to make it in time. That they have to prepare the carriage and the gifts too. He calls her by her name and tells her that she has to use honorifics with him from now on. She is surprised. He tells her that from now on he will regularly attend the parties of the upper class, but if she keeps talking to him like that, people would laugh at him. He asks her if she wants to embarrass him in front of others. She is shocked. He has never complained about that before, so why is he saying this now? Is it because the new girl is telling him to do that? She keeps her cool and tells him that she understands, that she would start calling him Duke in public. He is happy with that. She tells him that he also shouldn't call her by her name in front of others also. She tells him to address her as Lady Thebessa. He agrees. He also tells her that he will call an exclusive designer to make her dress for the party, that it is only reasonable to go to the palace like that. He tells her that he would make a new dress for her. Our girl asks him what he said. He tells her that he will take Sisley with him and look around the capital as well. That she would be bored if she is left all alone in the mansion. She tells him to do what he likes. He tells her that he hopes Sisley clothes fits our girl. Saying that Sisley is their guest, so she should give in to her. She asks him if he still thinks of her as the owner of the mansion. He replies yes, that she is the one that he got married to. He asks her who would be his wife other than her. She asks him why he is saying that she should give in to Sisley, someone that is carrying his child. He asks her if she is angry because of that. He tells her that it is because of his impulsivity that Sisley got pregnant that night, and it isn't right to abandon his child. He tells her that after the baby is born, she will kick Sisley out of the mansion. He tells her that she is his one and only wife. Our girl thinks about it what he just said, kick Sisley out of the mansion. In other words, her child will still be recorded in the family tree. She gets it now, her father Count Thebessa also said the same things. And that is how he became a lady in the Thebessa family. She tells him that she understands. She tells him that if he really consider her as someone he will marry, he shouldn't ever tell her to give in or take care of her. Later that day, the servants are talking about what is happening in the mansion. One of them comment that our girl has been acting weird lately. They also notice that the relationship between the male lead and our girl is getting more distant. The maid comments that there is nothing the servants can do, that they used to talk so casually to each other, but now they use honorifics with one another. Our girl can be seen walking in the garden, she sees the servants are gossiping and she could hear them. They wonder if the cold relationship between the male lead and our girl is because of the new girl. Rumors spread around that the girl is carrying the male lead's child. They wonder what would happen if the girl gives birth to a boy. They think the new girl would be made Duchess and our girl would be kicked out. She gets to them and they see her, they begin to make excuses. She tells them not to make excuses for gossiping. As she walks away, she tells them that what they said was partially right anyway, so they should feel free to talk about it. She walks sadly into the house. It's fine, because in the first place, she wasn't hoping for his love from the engagement. She only wanted to get out of her house. Of course, the fact that her soon-to-be husband is sharing his love to another woman is painful, but she don't have to face it directly, she won't mind. That is all she wanted. As she walks ahead, she comes face to face with Cicely. The girl greets him. She tells our girl that her belly is now big, that she can touch it. Our girl tells her that there is no need for that. The Cicely stops her, saying she haven't introduced herself to her. She tells her that her name is Cicely Heliot. Our girl looks at her, she recognizes the name. If it's Heliot, it's from Mulis Kingdom. It is obvious from the name that she must be Mulis Kingdom's princess, and it is the kingdom which surrendered to the empire not long ago. She now knows why the disappearance of the princess isn't so important. She tells the girl her name. She feels they don't have to talk too much, she wants her to leave now. The girl wants to tell her something, she addresses her as Miss Thebessa. Our girl takes notice of the way she was called. The royal family of the Doom Kingdom will be commoners or even lower status, that is why she should have called her a lady not just Miss. Misha immediately tries to correct Cicely, telling her that she should address our girl as lady and not Miss. Our girl apologizes on behalf of the maid, she excuses herself immediately. In her room, our girl tells Misha that it is really useless to talk with her. Misha gives her a letter sent from the Countess of Thebessa just now. Our girl immediately recalls the last memory she had of the Countess. She is surprised that the Countess sent her a letter. She advises herself not to overthink. She accepts it and begins to read the message. The Countess asks her if she is doing well. She tells her that she will be visiting the Duke Williot's palace where she is staying. Our girl wonders what she is going to do. She doesn't want to face her, but she have no right to deny her. She tells Misha that the Countess will drop by tomorrow. She is surprised. Our girl tells her not to worry, that the Countess is just visiting. Misha says that she still has to prepare. Another maid walks into the room and announces that the new girl suddenly fainted, that the doctor just came and he is checking her out. The Duke is coming too. Our girl thanks her for informing her. She feels that if the male lead goes, then she doesn't have to go. She tells Misha that they should continue their preparation. Suddenly, the door opens and the male lead walks in, calling her. He is angry, he asks her what she said to Cicely. She doesn't understand what he means. He tells her that she shouldn't act as if there is nothing happening between Cicely and her. He asks her why she fainted after meeting her. Our girl is surprised, she asks him if that is what Cicely said, she asks him if it's what she said that make her faint. He tells her that Cicely hasn't woke up, but the doctor diagnosed it as a psychological concussion and Cicely's servants also testified that they both met today. Our girl asks him what the servants told him that she said. That she and Cicely just said hello, asking if he thinks she is being rude by just introducing herself. If he pushes her to the wall and threatens her that if something happens to the baby inside Cicely's belly, he will deal with her. He warns her to be careful in the future, if not he might do something bad to her. He walks away angrily leaving. Our girl is surprised and shocked. The maids run to her and asks if she is okay. Now she has just realized that the male lead's feelings for that girl is deeper than what she thought. That the position of Duchess wife could be taken. That the end of this engagement, maybe it's an annulment, not a marriage. The next day our girl is reading a book in her room. Misha walks to her and tells her that Cicely have regained consciousness. She also tells her that the Countess the Besser has arrived. Our girl complains that she doesn't even have time to rest. She walks to the hallway to welcome her. They both exchange pleasantries. Our girl addresses her as her mom. Her mother tells her that they should leave the hall and go to the living room, that she wants to talk to her about something. She also tells the maid to leave. They sit to discuss. Her mother tells her that complexion looks really good. She asks her if someone is trying to take her place. Our girl tells her that she doesn't feel like having a long conversation, so she should go straight to the point. Her mother comments that she is still insolent as before. She replies asking her mother if she wants to have a long talk with her. She tells her if she wouldn't, then they should talk briefly, because she isn't feeling too good. Her mother angrily stands up and asks her why she is acting like a real duchess in front of her when she is supposed to act that way to other people and she couldn't. She continues, telling her not to forget that she is still Layla the Besser. Our girl is pained. She asks her if that's what she came here to say. She wonders if her mom came here to ridicule her for not even being the duchess. Her mom tells her that she heard a very interesting story. That the mistress of the male lead is in the mansion. That she also heard that the mistress is a princess of the defeated kingdom. Our replies that someone has informed her of matters that are not even important. Her mother immediately tells her that that is not even important, that the problem is that the mistress got pregnant before her. She reminds her of when she was telling her to get married immediately the previous duke and duchess died, but she refused. She drops a red bottle on the table. Our girl asks her what it is. She tells her that, and she replies that it is a drug that makes pregnancy easier. She brings another bottle with a blue color and drops it beside the other one, saying that this one is a drug to erase the child. She continues, saying that rumor has it that just one drop of it is enough to cause miscarriage. Our girl angrily stands up and wants to get away. She tells her mother to go home if she's going to say such strange things. Her mother shouts at her to calm down. She asks her how her life would be if the mistress gives birth to a child. She tells her that her marriage would be cancelled, that even if she is lucky enough to be the duchess, it would just be in name. Continuing, she tells her that she is too old to get married and what would she do if the marriage is cancelled. She asks her if she has any intention of getting back home. Holding her hand, she tells her that she is saying these things because she is worried about her. Our girl removes her hand immediately and tells her that she will pretend as if she didn't hear anything. She asks her to leave. Her mother stands up and informs her that she will leave the drugs with her, saying that if she wants to keep her position, then she will have to make a suggestion. In our girl's room, she is thinking about what she just heard. She hates Cicely, but that doesn't mean she wants to kiss the baby. The child is innocent. She feels it's the male lead's fault to have made the baby, but if she gives birth to the baby she will be. She turns and looks at the drugs in the drawer. There's a knock on the door and Misha requests to come in. The request is granted. She enters the room and informs her that the seamstress from the garment department is seeking her presence. Our girl comments that at last the seamstress is here. She tells the maid that she has to prepare quickly since she has to get to the capital in 2 days. She asks the maid about the jeweler and the shoemaker. The maid replies that they have received the message and would come today. Our girl tells her that she needs to put on clothes and accessories together, so they should be told to come quickly. Checking herself out in the mirror, she thinks within herself that she has to solve the immediate problems first. She asks the maid if the seamstress is in the living room now, and she says yes. She tells her to go and call the male lead to come outside to the living room. The maid tells her that the male lead is already in the living room. Our girl is surprised. She asks why. The maid tells her that the male lead wanted to show Miss Cicely how to welcome guests, so they're there together. Our girl is surprised that the male lead let that woman greet the guest. Meeting and greeting guests are jobs for the lady owner of this mansion. That is not something a normal mistress can do. Sisley can be seen greeting and welcoming the tailor at the living room. Our girl isn't happy. How could that be? She haven't really been the lady owner of this mansion. She just acted as if she was the owner with the male lead's permission. She feels she and Sisley have no difference. Misha walks to her and asks her if she okay. She asks her if she should kick the mistress out of the house. Our girl replies that she is fine, that if the male lead have decided to let her greet the guests, then they have to accept. She feels if she kicks the mistress out, she will just be a clown. Even so, she still needs to go. She walks to the living room to meet everyone. She greets the male lead who announces her presence to the tailor. The tailor prostrates and greets her. She tells him that she has received his letter, asking him where he put the finished dress. The tailor tells her that Sisley is checking it out. Sisley calls on our girl to come check her out. Our girl can't believe her eyes when she sees what the mistress is wearing. She quickly asks her what she is wearing. It is a green dress. Her mind flashes back to when she was gifted that dress by the male lead's mother. His mother had told her that the dress is for pregnant ladies and would love to see her wearing it. She adds that she is giving her the dress because she wants her to be pretty in it. Patting her head, his mother had told her that she wants to see her in that dress nursing her child. She had thanked the Duchess with all her heart. Back to present, our girl screams at her, asking her who gave her the permission to wear the dress the previous Duchess gave to her. The male lead tells her that he is the one that gave her the permission, so she should stop yelling at her. Our girl turns and asks him why he took her clothes without her permission. He tells her that she acting way too sensitive, that it is just an outfit. He adds that she doesn't even need this type of clothes because it is for pregnant women, that it is better to give it to someone in need than throwing it away in one place. She asks him if she threw it away, adding that she was afraid that it would be defected, so she kept it carefully in the deepest place in her closet. She asks him how he was able to find the dress in such a secret place like that, adding that there is no way he could have entered there and taken it. She asks him if the mistress went into her private room without her permission. The male lead tells her that the mistress has to greet the guests, but she has no clothes to wear. That if she had ordered a dress for her, then it wouldn't have happened. Our girl asks him if he is trying to put all the blame on her. Sisley begins to apologize. She tells them not to fight because of her, adding that this wouldn't have happened if she had brought her clothes with her. She begins to shed tears, apologizing. The male lead tells her that she doesn't have to say sorry, that she did nothing wrong. She tells him that she is always causing problems. He replies that it is not true. He turns and shouts to the servants to bring hot tea and some towels. Our girl looks on, thinking that stranger pregnant mistress is in the mansion. Our girl decides to be careful of her. Because maybe she can threaten her position. Many times she thinks she is the stranger here. She tells her maid that they should go back to the room. Outside in the garden, the maid are talking about the mistress and our girl. They wonder what would happen to our girl, whether the marriage would be broken. Another replies that it's not going to happen, that the nobility always differentiate the main wife from the subordinate one. Our girl walks past them and knows they're gossiping. Her maid isn't happy. She tells her not to care about them, that ever since she raised her voice in front of the mistress, she have already made up her mind. And most importantly, going to the capital with that woman would be so irritating. Her maid tells her that if she doesn't like it, she can just say she wants to check the territory, then she can leave. That if she was our girl, she would let the male lead do everything. Our girl smiles and remembers what she has to do. A week ago, she is in a meeting with some nobles. One of them suggests that she should hand over the work to the male lead, that he is back already and it is not really fine for her to keep doing his work. She agrees with them, saying that she will have to go to the capital in a week's time and from there, she would hand over to him. She adds that she believes they can solve it well. 2 days later, they are about to travel. The carriage arrives in front and the male lead asks if it is ready. They said yes. He is about to enter a coach with the mistress when our girl comes out. He greets her and tells her that the mistress is not feeling so well, so he is going with her. She tells him that he can do that she doesn't care. She walks into a different coach. Inside, she is thinking. She wonders why she is feeling lucky that she doesn't have to sit with them. She looks from the window and sees him holding her passionately. On the way to the ceremony, she wonders if this is what is making her upset the most. After a few long days on the road, they finally arrive at the capital. The driver of our girl's coach slows the horses and announces their arrival. She listens, exhausted, barely mustering the energy to respond. A maid beside her sighs, glancing out at the road behind them. She hadn't expected the journey to be this rough. Turning to our girl, she asks if she's okay. She nods but lets out a tired breath. The journey took longer than expected, and all she wants right now is to rest. That's the only thing on her mind. As she steps out of the carriage, the other maids nearby whisper among themselves. Their curious gazes flicker toward her, their expressions filled with speculation. Why is she alone? It's unusual. They murmur among themselves, wondering if something happened between her and the male lead. One of them suddenly points in the distance. The male lead is stepping down from another carriage, with the mistress. The whispers grow louder. Another maid, unable to contain her curiosity, asks who the woman is. Our girl clenches her jaw. She is beyond exhausted, and the last thing she wants to deal with right now is pointless gossip. Without sparing them a glance, she turns to Misha and tells her to take her to her room immediately. She doesn't need to hear any more of this. She just wants to be alone. She is taken inside and shown a room. Assessing the room, she comments that it often rains at the capital, so she wants another room without a window. The maid is surprised. She tells our girl that that kind of place is used only by servants. She replies that it is fine to be a little less classy. She asks her to take her to a room with smaller window. The maid takes her to another room. The room's window is smaller, but it is at the end of the corridor, so it is a little dark. Opening the room, the maid asks her if the size is okay with her. She says yes, that it is perfect. The maid informs her that she will tell a porter to bring her bags her. At that moment, someone calls her name. It's the male lead. He tells her that she already knows that the room isn't a lady's room. He is standing with the mistress. Our girl tells him that she prefers the room, that is why she requested for a change. She asks if there is any problem with that. He asks her if she changed because the mistress' room is right next to hers. Our girl doesn't understand. The mistress interjects. She first asks the male lead not to be furious with her, then she tells our girl that she will share a room with the male lead. She adds that she would be nervous if she were to stay alone in an unfamiliar place like that, saying that she likes being with him. The male lead says it is okay for them to stay together. They hug each other in front of our girl. She is so pained, Misha notices it and brings it to her attention. Our girl tells her that they need to get out of there immediately. Our girl and her maid are taking a walk around the capital. Her maid asks her how she feels now after the walk. She replies that she is better now. She is all smiles. Misha tells her that she has not seen her smile like this in a very long time. That in recent days her expression is always solemn and it makes her nervous. Our girl was considering annulment. But how is she expected to cope with that Count father if she calls off her engagement with the male lead? That house, too, did not welcome her. She can't take this out-of-hand marriage any longer. A sound ahead of them wakes her up from her bed of thoughts. She looks up and sees a man carrying a young girl, and her small sister is on the floor begging. Immediately she screams at the man to stop. She asks him what gave him the audacity to make such a bad deed in broad daylight. The man comments that our girl looks like a person from a noble family. He tells her not to meddle in someone else's business. Our girl tells him that she would have let it go if she didn't see it, but now she can't watch with her arms crossed since she have seen him treat those children like that. He orders him to explain what is going on. He tells her that she is collecting money. That the kid borrowed money from him 6 months ago and is yet to repay it, adding that if they don't have any money, then they would have to labor to pay it. The younger sibling on the floor screams at him, saying that her sister borrowed only 30 gold, but he is now asking for 500 gold. Our girl is surprised. She tells him that according to the imperial legislation, the highest loan interest rate in business is only 30%. He replies that he doesn't need to know about that everyone lends like that here. Our girl tells her maid to go and call the officers in the courtroom. The man is angry that she has intervened. He tells her that if she dared to travel alone like that, she should know better than to meddle in other people's business. He draws a sword and is about to cut our girl. She sees it coming but is too shocked to move an inch. Then suddenly, another sword prevents the blow and drags her away. It's a man with blue hair. He holds her safely in his arms. The man asks her if she is okay. The attacker immediately runs to him and they begin to fight. The man with the blue hair beats him up and he runs away. The maid is happy. Our girl looks at her savior. He has shiny blue hair and sharp eyes, white skin and expensive clothes. She doesn't think he is an ordinary person. She wonders who he is that she didn't know. He is of her age, and she knows virtually every noble person of her age. He tells her that she is reckless. She replies that she doesn't know what he means. He tells her that if he didn't save, something terrible would have happened to her. She asks him why he is so conclusive. He wonders if she is trying to say that he is wrong. She immediately tilts her fan closer to his neck and a blade comes out. She tells him that even if he didn't show up, she would have protected herself. The man is surprised by her move and weapon. He discovers that he was wrong and biased, so he apologizes. She tells him that she doesn't want his apology, but instead she is grateful to him for saving her life, adding that he apologized to her and saved her too. He tells her that it was nothing. He commends her fan, saying it is awesome, adding that this is his first time seeing such a useful fan. He asks her where he can buy it. She tells him that she made it herself. When the former duke passed away, there was no one to protect her in the mansion. When the male lead left for war, the attack was more severe because of the assassins. She tells him that she knows that it is not good to take it with her, but she has no choice. He smiles and tells her that she is so great, that it is amazing that she can make a weapon to protect herself. She looks at him, wondering if she is really great and amazing. This is something that the male lead has never said to her. She stops her thoughts immediately. It is not right to compare her fiancé to another man. She tells him that she is leaving now. She tells her maid to wrap her shawl and follow her, that she has to go find the guard. The man asks her if she is going to report the man to the guard. She says yes, that the man is requesting a 60% interest. He will be fined at least 1,000 gold. They greet each other in the name of the empire, and she leaves. As they walk away, Misha thinks the man is so handsome and really nice. He shines so brightly. She asks our girl if she will shine like that if she becomes a duchess. This question plunges our girl into another series of thoughts. Just a while ago, she thought it would be the duchess. Now she wonders if she can become the duchess. Her maid tells her that they have arrived the place. They enter the office and meet an elderly man. Without looking, he asks them what they're doing here. Our girl explains to him that she just witnessed an unfortunate incident on the street and would like to report it. He drops a plain sheet on the desk and tells her to fill her report there and leave. She asks him if he isn't going to strengthen the patrol, that she saw a man assaulting a woman a few minutes ago. He is getting impatient and tells her that there are short of manpower, that she should just fill out the report first. The maid who is standing behind asks him if he knows who he is talking to. Our girl tells him that there is no point in screaming, that if the capital's guards are so negligent, it would be better to report the matter to His Majesty separately. He stands up immediately in fear. He calms them down, saying he didn't mean it that way. He begs her to fill the report first and he will take action immediately. Later that evening, our girl is going back to the house. The maid comments that people in the capital doesn't really give regards to our girl. Our girl tells her that they should head back inside immediately. As they move, our girl notices that someone is following them. She quickly turns and sees the man with the blue hair. She asks him why he is following her. He stops and tells her that he didn't intend to scare her, that he just wants to ask her something. She asks him what he wants to know. He tells her that it is about what they were talking about in the morning. He asks her how she knew that the person is supposed to get 60% interest. She asks him if that is all he wants to ask. He replies no, that he also wants to know how she knew that the empire's interest rate for the loan is 30%, and also how she knew that the fine to be imposed on that man would be 1,000 gold. She smiles and tells him that she guesses it is so strange for a young lady like her to know these things well. He agrees, saying that usually, nobles don't even study these things. Our girl knows that it is natural, a lady would not rule a territory, so there's no need for her to study these things that would give her headache, but she had to rule the estate on behalf of the male lead. She tells him that she is interested. She sees his reaction and asks if he is dissatisfied of her interest because she is a woman. He says no, that it's just a little strange. Most women don't usually care about this. She tells him that she have to leave now, since she has satisfied his curiosity. She turns and begins to walk away. He also bids her goodbye, calling her full name. She is shocked, she wonders how he knew her name. She turns quickly but couldn't see him again. Later in her room, she is still thinking about what transpired. She feels he say her name on the crest that's in the fan. Misha tells her that she was quite famous in high society also, so it's natural for him to know her name. She asks the maid if she knows the family the man is from. She says no, asking if they should find out. Our girl refuses, saying there's no need. She feels he is more than a count's family member, so she would surely see him at the emperor's coronation party. The next morning, our girl is her room when the male lead comes to look for her. Her maid announces his presence and she goes to see him through the window. He calls her name and she tells him to address her as lady and not so casually. He asks her if she really wants to be addressed that way continuously. She says yes, that she is only keeping her promise. He tells her that it's enough, that only talking with her hurts his head. Our girl immediately remembers when they were younger. He had announced that it's a lot of fun talking with her. That she knows a lot of things that makes him envious. He had confessed that he wants to be smart like her. She is surprised that he is saying a different thing. Tears begin to drop from her eyes. Immediately, he asks her if she is okay. She says she is fine, that there's dust in her eyes. Showing a gift box to her, he asks her if she likes chocolate. Adding that he didn't know when women liked, so he asked the store owner and he recommended it. She asks him if he just got it and brought it for her. He tells her that Sisley wanted to eat a cake. She's shocked. He asks her if there's any issue. He tells her that he didn't know she'd want it. Adding that if she wants to eat a cake she should get it by herself. She feels so bad as he walks away. The male lead brings the cake to Sisley. She is very happy. He tells her that she can eat it all. She tells him that it is very delicious. She asks him where he got it from. He tells her that it is another nobleman that told him about the place. She asks if she could eat more, and he says yes. He asks her if our girl also got the cake. He didn't answer. He asks her why she wants to know. She tells him that she feels sorry for her, that in their kingdom, there is a custom of sharing good food. She says that our girl is like family now, so she wants to share with her. In our girl's room, a maid carefully sets down a box in front of her. Misha announces that it's a cake, watching for her reaction. She blinks, a little surprised. After everything he said earlier, he still went ahead and bought it. That means it must have been on his mind. He must have been bothered by it more than he let on. She glances at the box. The male lead isn't the type to care about things like this, so why now? As she looks closer, something feels familiar. It's the same box she saw earlier. A realization sinks in, it's probably the same kind of cake Sisley had. A strange feeling settles in her chest. It doesn't sit right with her. It almost feels like she forced herself to accept it, even though she never really wanted it in the first place. Misha notices her hesitation and sighs. She knows our girl doesn't like cake, but on a day like this, she shouldn't refuse it. Hearing that, our girl smiles, pushing aside her doubts. She tells Misha that, actually, she did want to try it. Just a little. With that, she lifts the lid, ready to see what's inside. But the moment she lays eyes on it, she freezes. Her mind takes a second to process what she's looking at. A leftover cake. Not a fresh one, not something bought just for her. Just leftovers. In this scene, we're introduced to our main character, our girl Layla, who sits down while still staring at the cake in her hand. Just when we think she might finally eat it, we hear Misha calling out to her. Then, the Baron turns his attention to her and talks about the food she sent. He mentions that she said the kingdom has a habit of sharing food they've already tasted. In response, she calmly stands up, places the cake back on the table, and tells him to take it away. Without saying much more, she starts walking off, and right behind her is her loyal maid, Misha, following in silence. As she walks away, we get a glimpse into her thoughts. She quietly wonders to herself what she must do for her heart to feel at peace. She brings her hands up to her face and covers it, almost as if trying to block out her emotions. Then, something heavier hits her mind. She thinks to herself, after all this time, what does she even mean to Phillen? It's like we're watching someone lost in a storm of feelings, and it's heartbreaking. She sits down and begins to wonder again what she's supposed to do. Then, a memory sneaks in, one involving Countess Teresa. Now, this woman once tormented her all because she was born to a concubine. But strangely, when she saw Teresa caring for her mother, a different feeling started to grow. It makes her think, maybe that was why the Countess treated her so harshly. Maybe it wasn't just hate, it was something more complicated. Nevertheless, the part that truly weighs her down isn't even the humiliation. It's the fact that, in spite of all of it, she still has to look after Phillen. And that thought is what seems to break her a little more. She walks over and touches one of her dresses, as if drawing strength from something familiar. Then, Misha comes up to her from behind and brings up something unexpected. She gently asks if her lady intends to embroider handkerchiefs. This surprises her, and she repeats the word handkerchiefs, almost like it sounds strange to her ears. Misha goes on to explain that the Emperor's first social devout is coming up. In this tradition, the boys will receive handkerchiefs from the person they admire. It's something noble women are known to carry. At first, our girl seems to forget this custom, but her maid reminds her again, asking if she had truly forgotten. She adds that the Duke had always been on the battlefield and very busy back then, which may be why the tradition faded from her mind. Then, she responds that even if she has time, she doesn't want to do it anymore. Misha agrees, pointing out how much time has passed since she last embroidered anything. Life moved too fast, and somewhere along the way, they stopped keeping up with things like this. And just when we think the scene might end there, our girl starts remembering something important. 6 years ago, she made her very first embroidered handkerchief for Phillen. He was about to go to the battlefield, and she believed that if he took it with him and returned safely, it would mean something special. So she didn't hesitate, she made it for him. Now, as she reflects on that moment, she remembers how he held the handkerchief just out of her reach, making her stretch for it. We get to witness that memory through her eyes, and it stays with us. He asked if the pattern she embroidered was from her family. At that moment, she responded with a little frustration, telling him that if he didn't like it, he didn't have to take it. Phillen had once told her it made no sense for her to give something to him and then take it back. He had tucked it into his jacket, smiled, and told her not to worry. He would return safely. Then, he kissed her hand and asked her to wait for him. Just like that, the memory stays clear in her heart. She touches her dress and tells herself that was a happy memory. No matter how much she hates him, he is still her fiancé. As if that wasn't enough, this is her first time appearing in public as the Emperor's fiancé, so she reminds herself not to make any mistakes. In the next scene, she turns to Misha Hamid and tells her to get ready. She plans to embroider a handkerchief, and without hesitation, Misha agrees. Later on, we see her hard at work. Suddenly, she pricks her finger with the needle again, and her maid gently says that it's the 22nd time it's happened. She laughs and acts surprised, wondering aloud if it's really been that many. She never expected that making a handkerchief would be this difficult. She had thought she would be good at sewing, but she quickly admits that's not true. There are still many things she can't do, cooking and dancing, for example. Surprised, Misha points out that not knowing how to cook is common, but dancing. She asks if she really doesn't know how to dance. Our girl answers that it's true. The problem is, she can't catch the beat. As soon as she says this, her mind goes back to 6 years ago. It was a time when she was dancing with Phillen. She had the same problem back then. She needed to focus closely on her partner's movement just to keep up. The beat always seemed too hard to catch. Back in the present, Misha says she can't imagine her making that kind of mistake. But our girl admits that even as an adult, she still makes lots of errors. She wishes she had more time, but there's only one day left. She plans to stay up all night just to finish. Morning finally comes, and we see that the handkerchief is done. She looks at it and says it's finished. Her maid takes one look and tells her it's perfect. Our girl gives credit to her, saying that if she did it all by herself, she wouldn't know when it would have been completed. Misha then gently pushes her forward, telling her that she should show it to him quickly. Confused, she asks if now is the right time. But the maid insists, if she doesn't give it to him now, it won't carry any meaning. After all, she worked so hard on it. If he's to feel anything, it has to be now. Looking at the embroidery, she holds it up with a quiet question in her eyes. Misha, always caring, still reminds her that they need to wash her face before she goes. Soon after, we see her holding the embroidery in a box as she walks to his room. When she reaches the door, a wave of memory comes back, the first time she gave him an embroidered handkerchief. It suddenly feels like she's going back in time. He opens the door, and she calls out to him, addressing him formally. He looks at her and asks what brings her there. Slowly, she points the box toward him, ready to give it. But just when we think everything's going smoothly, something surprising happens. Her eyes widen the moment Sisley steps out of the room. In her hand is a handkerchief, and she asks why he left it behind. Our girl sees the handkerchief clearly. She doesn't say a word, but inside her mind, there's only one thought: handkerchief. She notices Sisley holding a handkerchief, and at first, it looks like a normal piece of embroidery, but when she takes a closer look, she realizes it carries the crest of William's family. The embroidery is so delicate and neat, way better than what she's done. As if embarrassed, she quietly hides hers behind her back. Then, out of nowhere, Sisley breaks the silence. She greets her, calling her Lady Teresa, and our girl responds calmly. Right after that, Sisley starts explaining. She says there's something she wants to ask for understanding. According to her, since the lady couldn't do the embroidery, she took it upon herself to do it instead, and just like that, she adds that it's Phillen's first social event, and she was afraid the Duke would be disgraced without a proper handkerchief. So, she did it in her place. That statement hits Layla hard. In her mind, she starts to wonder what Sisley means by doing it on her behalf. She begins to question who Sisley even thinks she is. But before she can say anything, Sisley notices her expression and asks why she's being looked at like that. Just then, Phillen steps in. He says Sisley worked really hard to make the embroidery, even though she wasn't feeling well, but instead of appreciating it, our girl gives her that kind of look, and then, something changes in our girl. What he says shocks her deeply. She's seen that kind of expression before, confident, like nothing wrong was done. And now, he's showing it again. She speaks up. She says she's not the one being unreasonable, it's Phillen. He folds his arms and questions her in return. So, she keeps going. She makes it clear that even if Sisley is carrying his child, she's still just a mistress. She won't be able to walk proudly beside him in public. She'll always live in the shadows. At that moment, Sisley puts her hand over her mouth and suddenly drops to the ground. But Phillen rushes to catch her before she falls completely. He calls out her name with worry and then turns around with anger burning in his eyes. He calls out our girl's name loudly. But Layla doesn't back down. She says a woman like Sisley has no right to invade her authority as the fiancé, and it's not fair to expect her to be kind in this situation. Phillen, trying to defend the situation, says it wasn't an invasion, it was simply a kind gesture from Sisley's heart. But before he can finish, our girl cuts in again, saying such acts without being asked are usually called useless. And just when we think things can't get any more intense, Phillen's anger reaches a boiling point. He calls out her full title, Lady Teresa, clearly furious. Layla, looking at both of them, thinks to herself how ridiculous this is, fighting over a mistress. It feels like a very shameful moment. So, she speaks one last time before walking away. She says he's free to take the handkerchiefs to the banquet if he wants, but he shouldn't tell anyone she made them. Because she doesn't plan on lying about it. As she turns and walks away, she thinks to herself that he must be feeling embarrassed, and that's why he isn't saying anything. Her maid, Misha, calls out, trying to stop her, but she ignores the voice and keeps moving. In the next scene, we see her outside, heading toward her carriage. The man in charge of driving it steps forward to help her in and asks a simple question. But she responds immediately, telling him to go. He hesitates for a moment and explains that the carriage actually belongs to the Duke. However, she makes it clear this isn't the only carriage in the mansion, and he can find another one. She instructs him to take her to the quietest place possible. And so, the carriage moves. As she sits alone, she holds tightly onto a box. Inside is the embroidery she made for Phillen. Her hands are full of injuries because of it. Looking down at them, she thinks about how foolish she was for putting in all that effort. She feels disappointed in herself. Meanwhile, in another scene, we find Phillen and Sisley talking. He apologizes, saying it was all because of his plan, but Sisley doesn't seem upset. She simply says it's okay, that it's not a big deal after all. In this heart-touching scene, we find Phillen and Sisley sitting quietly on the couch. While sitting side by side, he gently reaches out and touches her hand. With a soft voice, he tells her that she doesn't really need to call the doctor. Right after that, she slowly leans her head on his shoulder and says she just needs him to stay with her. As we listen closely, we hear her ask if he's upset with Lady Teresa because of something she did. She seems unsure and a little guilty. He quickly explains that it's not her fault. According to him, our girl has always been this way. If anyone steps into her territory or questions her position, she gets extremely angry. He adds that he had hoped she would change with time, but sadly, she seems to be even more difficult now than before. As if the moment wasn't already emotional enough, we see her place her hand gently on her pregnant belly. Her voice softens even more as she tells him that, because of him, she doesn't mind not getting recognition. However, what really worries her now is what might happen to her child. Phillen doesn't waste any time. He tells her that it's a useless worry and assures her that the child she gives birth to will surely be officially registered as the eldest child of the family. He also points out that it's our girl's duty, as the foster mother, to care for the baby. But that's when she shares her true fear. What if the child doesn't get recognized? What if our girl refuses to carry out her responsibility? The room feels heavier now as she admits her concern. She puts one hand over her mouth and quickly says that it's not like our girl has said anything specific, but after what she saw today, she's scared that our girl might mistreat the child. Phillen listens carefully and reassures her again. He says that if our girl fails to act as the proper foster mother, then she also fails as the lady of the house. He then looks directly into her eyes and tells her that if such a thing ever happens, he will give everything up and remove our girl from the mansion. Just when we think the scene can't get any more emotional, Sisley tells him that he's great. And in her thoughts, she repeats that same word, great. A smile appears on her face. He tells her that he can't wait for the baby to arrive because he wants to be a good father. She chuckles and responds with a little laugh, surprised and touched by his words. Meanwhile, in another part of the story, we find our girl sitting alone under a tree. Her head is down, and her hands are covering her face. From what we can tell, she's overwhelmed. Inside her mind, she's thinking deeply, wondering if she can ever return to being the same person she used to be in the Duke's family. And just when we think we've seen it all, something surprising happens. She lifts her head slowly and finds someone in front of her. It's a man with blue hair, and he's holding out a handkerchief. She's clearly shocked. In a calm voice, he asks her why she's crying in such a place, while offering a handkerchief to her. Just one look at him makes her pause, and in her mind, she quietly thinks to herself that she must look terrible right now. She suddenly becomes aware of her messy appearance, and as a result, she quickly puts on a fake smile. However, the man doesn't seem to fall for it. Instead, he gently steps forward and politely speaks to her. To her surprise, he takes out a handkerchief and softly cleans her face, especially around her eyes. Then, in a calm voice, he mentions that she might hurt her eyes if she keeps wiping them like that. Our girl, trying to maintain her distance, quickly tells him that she can handle it herself. However, instead of walking away, he calmly takes a seat beside her. As he sits down, he quietly mentions that the place seems peaceful and guesses that she must enjoy being alone. She responds by saying she just needed some time to herself and that it's not such a big deal. But he gently points out that she was crying very sadly just moments ago. She doesn't deny it but simply asks if she tells him what's wrong, would he be able to fix it? He gives a warm response, saying he would try if it's something he can do. Layla is touched by the kindness, and even says thank you for saying that. He then adds that he means every word. At this point, we get to see our girl's thoughts again. She reflects on how strange and embarrassing it feels that she always seems to run into this man so suddenly. Her eyes drift toward the sword he carries. She notices the handle is quite worn out and immediately thinks that his skills must be really good. She figures that the sword is definitely not just for show. In fact, this reminds her of another person, Phillen. His sword handle was also very old. Just when it seems like she's about to say something unexpected happens. The man quickly pops a strawberry candy into her mouth. As she tastes it, she realizes what it is and softly mumbles that it's strawberry candy. He smiles and explains that whenever he feels sad, eating strawberry candy always helps him feel better. He hopes it'll do the same for her too. During the moment, she softly thanks him again, and he tells her not to mention it. Then something else catches his eye, a box that contains the handkerchief. Almost instantly, he moves the box aside. However, as he does, the handkerchief slips out and falls onto the ground. She tries to explain, saying that the item isn't what it seems, but before she can bend down to pick it up, he beats her to it. While holding it, he casually comments that it's just a simple handkerchief. She immediately asks him to return it, but instead of handing it over right away, he studies the crest on it. Then, with his hand placed under his chin, he calmly points out that it seems to be something connected to her fiancé. She quickly denies it, saying that it's just something she wants to throw away, and again asks for it back. As if that wasn't enough, she turns her face away and quietly adds that it's a handkerchief she no longer needs. Then, in a subtle motion, she places her hand on her chest. That's when he suddenly notices something else. There are bruises and signs of injury on her hand. Without saying too much, he gently suggests an idea. He tells her that if she truly wants to get rid of the handkerchief, then she should throw it to him instead. He shows it to her, and the moment she sees it, she tells him to stop talking nonsense. According to her, it's a tacky handkerchief and not something he should be carrying around. But to everyone's surprise, he calmly tells her that the lady who made it worked so hard on it, so it couldn't possibly be tacky. She doesn't hold back and tells him the embroidery looks weird. However, he gently replies that it isn't weird, he actually thinks it's pretty. She stares at him for a second and wonders out loud if it can really be called pretty. He looks confident as he tells her that his eyes are not wrong. Just when we think the conversation ends there, he suddenly grabs her hand and kisses it. He says she shouldn't see him as one of those people who get fooled by flashy things and throw them away without knowing the true value. She immediately responds, saying that she doesn't think of him that way at all. Then, as he puts the handkerchief into his jacket, she quietly watches. In her mind, she tells herself to forget it because it isn't that important. It's just something she had planned to throw away anyway. And besides, that handkerchief is probably better off with someone who actually needs it. As if that wasn't enough, he suddenly brings up something totally unexpected. He tells her there's something he wants to ask her about taxis. Apparently, he has a problem and hopes she can help him. She's confused and points out that it might be faster to ask the officer in charge. But he replies that he already did, and it didn't work out, which is exactly the problem. We can see her wondering to herself, why is he asking her, a lady, about something even the officer couldn't solve? Still, she tells him that she's not sure if she can help. In her mind, she admits he's really strange. However, he reassures her that he's only asking for her opinion and that she shouldn't feel pressured. So, she agrees and asks him what the problem is. They begin talking. The conversation continues for a while, and after some time, he says it was really helpful and thanks her, calling her Lady Teresa. She replies that it wasn't a big deal and that it was actually a pleasant conversation for her. Smiling softly, she thinks to herself that she hasn't had such an enjoyable chat in a very long time. And you wouldn't believe what happens next. He smiles again and says they had a good conversation together. She agrees and is happy to know that he felt the same way. But just when we think it's over, something hits her. She still doesn't know his name. So, she politely asks if she can know his name. And then, with a smile, he replies by asking if she's curious. He looks at her with a playful smile and says she should try guessing his name. Right away, we see her pause, shocked by his words. But then he reminds her that he was able to guess her name earlier, so it only makes sense for her to guess his. She stares at him, clearly confused, and responds by asking why things should work that way. As if that wasn't enough, she starts to feel something bubbling inside, annoyance. We hear her thoughts as she tells herself that he's starting to make her aggressive, but she decides to give it a try anyway. She begins guessing, throwing out names one after the other. First, she tries Lord Valens, then quickly moves on to others like Lord Eliza and Lord Lugan. However, none of them are right. We can tell she's beginning to get frustrated. In her mind, she thinks that maybe all the names of noble boys around her age must already belong to other members of the Count family. Still, she feels confident that this time she will figure it out. Wanting help, she looks at him and asks for a hint. He repeats the word hint and then points at his head. At first, it made no sense. She stares at him and thinks to herself, head? Then her eyes focus on his blue hair under the light. But again, it doesn't seem like a clue at all. She's completely lost. Just when she's about to give up, he laughs and comments that she's quite ignorant in this area. She's clearly not amused. She throws back a quick response, asking if he's kidding. He tells her he's not and gives her a new challenge. If she can't figure out his name now, she has to find it out by the time of the banquet. She raises a brow and confirms if he's really going to attend the banquet. Then, we get a peek into her thoughts again. She tells herself that it makes sense for a nobleman who is in line to be a count to attend the emperor's party. After all, only nobles ranked baron and above get an invitation. But then, something changes. Her mood drops the moment she remembers Phillen and Sisley. Her thoughts become sad, and we learn why. She knows that if she attends the banquet, many nobles will notice her and Phillen. She imagines them whispering and gossiping about their situation. Sisley might not even wear the handkerchief with pride, but she herself would never dare to carry an embroidered handkerchief either. In fact, she's not even planning to offer anyone a handkerchief at all. And just like that, she points out that being an aristocrat without a handkerchief at her first social debut would be enough to stir up talk among the gossip-loving nobles. While she's lost in these thoughts, we notice her biting her lips nervously. The blue-haired guy suddenly reaches out and lightly adjusts her lips with his fingers. He says she has all the bad habits. Instantly, she moves back and covers her mouth with her hand. He notices her reaction and quickly apologizes, placing one hand on his neck as if to show he means it. He expresses concern, fearing that she might hurt herself. She quickly reassures him, revealing that her nerves are from something entirely different, the upcoming social debut and the pressure she feels. After all, this is her first time making such a public appearance. The man, however, tells her not to worry. He explains that many aristocrats will be attending their first social debut at the party due to the long war. This comforts our girl, but she still feels the weight of the event. Our girl, impressed by his kindness, compliments him, thinking that he must be very popular among the other young ladies. He laughs and humbly admits that although many ladies may show interest, he's only trying to win her attention. If she's not interested, he says, she wouldn't even notice him. She is taken aback by his honesty and looks at him with surprise. She can't help but smile, feeling strangely connected to him. In her mind, she reflects on how unusual it is for someone to see her as more than just a lady. It's as if he sees our girl, the person, not just the figure she's expected to be. She tells him he talks very well and holds his arm as they continue their walk. With a teasing smile, she asks him if he's really planning to keep the handkerchief with him. The man replies that he doesn't mind keeping it, even though it has Duke William's crest engraved on it, something she feels he shouldn't use. He reassures her that he will keep it hidden, just for himself. His smile grows as he leans in closer, but our girl, feeling a bit overwhelmed by his proximity, steps back quickly. She mentions how special the handkerchief is and insists that he must never show it to anyone. Her thoughts race as she wonders why she feels so unsettled around him, despite his charm. Just then, someone calls out to her, and our girl is about to walk away when the man stops her, calling her name. He holds her hand gently and says he wants to ask her one more question. She thinks it might be about taxes, but when he says it's about her, her curiosity piques. He asks if she has any intention of becoming an official. Our girl, slightly taken aback, laughs it off, assuming he's joking, but the man is serious. She replies that women can't manage such roles, though he insists that there's no law against it. Layla, with her hand on her chest, explains that it's not a legal issue, but a matter of custom. He, however, pushes further, asking if she would accept the chance to become an official if it were offered. She answers without hesitation, saying, "Of course." He smiles at her, a look of satisfaction on his face, before adding that he hopes she won't forget her answer. Meanwhile, in an official's office, an important scene unfolds. The official is focused on his work when he hears a knock on the door. When the person enters, the official stands up and comments on the heavy workload he's been given. He recognizes the man before him as Emperor Corleone de Zeppel, Youthveldia. The emperor smiles in response. The emperor stands with a piece of paper in his hand and asks the official if he is done with the work. The official responds, asking if the emperor truly thinks he's finished. The emperor shakes his head, replying that he doesn't think so. The official, now slightly frustrated, asks if it's the emperor's dream to make him work non-stop. The emperor, smiling, says no, but steps closer to the official, adding that he cherishes him deeply. The official, looking at him, asks why then is there so much work for him. The emperor replies, "Because I trust you." The official, feeling overwhelmed, places his hand on the table and pleads with the emperor, asking to be fired. The emperor laughs and rejects the request immediately. The official then suggests that the emperor hire more assistants since there is so much work. The emperor, folding his arms and turning his face away, replies that there's no one he trusts more than the official. The official, after a moment of silence, begins to think if he should betray the emperor and end up in prison. The emperor, smiling, says he plans to hire a new assistant. The official jumps to his feet, shocked, and asks if the emperor is serious. The emperor confirms, mentioning he will hire one. The official, still thinking it over, quickly adds that if the emperor is really going to hire one, he should hire 3 more. The emperor, with a raised eyebrow, asks if he should cancel the plan for one. The official, now frantic, immediately says no and that one would be fine. He then offers to ask for letters of recommendation from the nobles. The emperor, still calm, says that no letters are needed. Instead, he wants them to take a test. The official, surprised, questions where the test should be held. The emperor tells him it will be in 1 month. The official, though it sounds tight, agrees. Then he asks if administration should be the only subject for the test. The emperor, however, responds that it should also cover tax law, politics, welfare, and more. The official is speechless, not sure if the emperor is serious. The emperor assures him that if they want to be his assistant, it should be enough. The official, rubbing his head, doubts the chances of finding a suitable assistant. He then says that he will prepare and announce it as soon as the banquet ends. The emperor adds one last instruction: the announcement must include the phrase "if women can apply," and it must be easy to see. He says this while smiling. It's the day of the Emperor's coronation celebration banquet, a special event that lasts for 2 days. Today is the day that our girl will be attending, while the second day is reserved for the maids. Our girl is standing in front of a mirror, surrounded by maids who are holding her silver dress. Elf, feeling both excited and anxious about the upcoming event. The previous incident with the banquet chief has left an uncomfortable silence between her and Phillen. They used to talk easily, but now, it feels like they've drifted apart, and there's no sign of things getting better. As Layla stands there, one of the maids, Misha, compliments her. She says the silver dress fits perfectly, especially with our girl's hair, which is as dark as the night sky. Our girl smiles and responds, somewhat surprised by the compliment. Misha reassures her that no one could wear the dress as beautifully as she does, and the other maids immediately chime in, agreeing with Misha. "Yes, you look so beautiful, my lady," they say, making our girl smile even more. Even though the compliments are nice, our girl knows it's the dress she truly loves. She plans to reward the designer once she returns to the estate. Then, Layla looks around and asks about the Duke. Misha tells her that Phillen is ready and waiting in the hall. Our girl nods, urging everyone to hurry. A maid quickly points out the direction, telling her that if she leaves right now, she'll reach the banquet hall on time. Just as our girl is about to leave, disaster strikes. Sisley accidentally bumps into her and spills a drink on her silver dress. The maids rush to her side in panic, worried about the stain on the dress. Sisley, looking flustered, apologizes, explaining that she was rushing back to her room when she accidentally ran into the door. She bows her head in an attempt to show how sorry she is. Our girl looks at Sisley, her mind racing. She wonders if the incident was intentional, but she quickly decides that getting angry would only make her look bad. Instead, she calmly asks her maid, Sarah, how many spare dresses they have in the mansion. She also wonders if they brought any other silver dresses. Sarah answers that they do have spare dresses, but this silver one is the only one they brought to the capital. Layla thinks to herself, realizing that there isn't enough time to change her accessories, and she can't afford to appear too different from Phillen. She tells the maid to bring a dress as similar as possible and to also bring her jewelry box and shoes. The maids immediately rush to gather everything, and our girl tells the waiter to inform the Duke that he can leave for the banquet hall. The waiter acknowledges her request and leaves. As Layla enters her room, Sisley calls out to her, but our girl ignores her and walks inside. The scene shifts to outside, where Phillen is already on his way to the banquet hall in his carriage. Inside the banquet hall, the Emperor sits in his chair, waiting for the arrival of the guests. One of the officials announces that Duke Williams has arrived, but he is alone. The Emperor, surprised, asks why Phillen is alone and if his fiancé is not with him. The official confirms that only the Duke has arrived. The Emperor, sensing something is off, orders the banquet to be postponed, unsure of what's going on. The Emperor sits quietly, his focus on the book in front of him. The name on the page catches his attention, Layla Tavessa. He doesn't recognize her personally, but her name is well known in social circles. However, it's not for good reasons. Rumor has it that she is the daughter of a powerless provincial noble who somehow managed to form a connection with the Duke family. No one really knows exactly what she does, but the Duke and Duchess treat her like their own daughter. Some even say she might have been bought by Duke William, while others claim she's his mistress. However, when the previous Duke and Duchess died, the young Phillen Williams became the new Duke. Everyone expected him to fall, to be overtaken by those eager to take his position. But somehow, Phillen stood strong, almost as if he were protected by something invisible. The Emperor finds this curious. Phillen Williams isn't a particularly clever man, in fact, he's quite foolish. Yet after becoming Duke, he remained unmoved, much to the surprise of many. People wondered how he managed to stay firm. Could it be a great assistant behind the scenes? The Emperor decides to look into it. But what he discovers surprises him. It's not Phillen, nor is it a great assistant that's holding things together. It's a young woman. Layla Tavessa. The realization hits him like a thunderclap. This is the same Layla, the one he spoke to earlier by the tree. He can't believe it. She, who is always with someone as clueless as Phillen, is the one keeping him stable. As he stands and places his hand on his chin, lost in thought, an official enters. He announces that it's time to head to the banquet hall. The emperor pauses for a moment before asking if Duke William is alone. The official responds, saying that if the emperor is asking about our girl, his fiancé, she hasn't arrived yet. The emperor frowns. It's strange that she hasn't shown up, especially on such an important day. What could have happened? He thinks for a moment, then instructs the official to wait. Let's wait a little longer. The one I'm waiting for hasn't come yet, the emperor says with a smile. As our girl rides in the carriage, she looks out at the building and sighs. She's been rushing, but it's later than she expected. She quickly thinks to herself that she changed her clothes in a hurry, but still ended up late. She worries about being later than the emperor, as it would be a huge disrespect. However, she knows there's nothing she can do about it now and must deal with the consequences alone to avoid harming Duke William's reputation. Once the carriage stops and she gets out, our girl rushes up the stairs. In her mind, she's thinking that the banquet must have already started. She doesn't want to be late, especially not after the emperor, but there's nothing she can do now. As she enters, she realizes that something feels off. If the banquet had really started, the hall would be closed, but it's still open. She wonders if the banquet hasn't started yet, and she feels relieved. When she steps inside, she notices that there are still others present in the hall. She smiles and says out loud that she's relieved. Duke Phillen, who's standing nearby, asks her what she's so relieved about. She quickly turns to face him, and he tells her that she doesn't know how much trouble he's been through because she was late to the divester. Our girl just looks at him, thinking in her mind that it was actually Cicely's fault for spilling the glass on her dress, but she doesn't want to explain too much. Instead, she simply apologizes to him. As she continues to look at him, she notices the handkerchief which is in his pocket and she assumes it's the one Cicely had given him. She wonders if Cicely had embroidered it, but she quickly realizes that the handkerchief looks too old for that. Phillen, noticing her gaze, explains that it was made by his mother a long time ago. He says that if he came without it, people would gossip about both him and her. She thinks about how it was made by the Duchess, and she feels a little nostalgic, missing her. He then notices her expression and asks if she's dissatisfied with him doing this. Our girl quickly responds that she's not, and says it just reminds her of the Duchess. The two of them fall silent for a moment before they begin walking together, hand in hand. Our girl, still curious, asks why the banquet hasn't started yet. He replies that His Majesty is going to be late for some reason. She feels relieved once again, thinking to herself that she's glad the banquet hasn't started yet. Thanks to the Emperor's delay, she's not as late as she feared. Moments later, the sound of trumpets fills the air, signaling that the banquet is about to begin. An announcer introduces His Majesty, the Emperor, and thanks the guests for their patience. As the Emperor enters, our girl's eyes widen in surprise when she spots a man with blue hair standing beside him. This man is the same one she spoke with at the tree the other day, and her mind races as she thinks, this man. Our girl stands there, her eyes fixed on the man in front of her. As she watches, she suddenly realizes, this man is the Emperor. She can hardly believe it. Then, she remembers something important. The infernal family is protected by the blue dragon, and the blue dragon's characteristics are blue hair and blue eyes. It all makes sense now. It was the clue, the hint she had missed. She had been so caught up in the long war and the delay of the debutante, but now she understands. The nobility of the empire has failed to recognize him, and she thinks to herself how silly it all seems. Just as her mind is racing, Phillen calls her name, snapping her out of her thoughts. She quickly turns to him, asking what he needed. He simply replies that it was nothing. But as she looks at him, she wonders why he always behaves this way. Then, the Emperor stands tall and addresses the entire room. He raises his glass of wine and declares that it is a great pleasure to be with them all on such a meaningful day. He toasts, saying, "For the Empire," and everyone in the hall follows suit, raising their glasses and repeating, "For the Empire." The music begins to play, filling the banquet hall, and it's now time for dancing. Phillen turns to Layla and asks if she wants to join in. She agrees, although she isn't fond of dancing. She thinks to herself that she needs to keep up appearances and show everyone that her relationship with him is still going strong. Step here, turn a little, and step again. She feels awkward, but she knows this is what's expected. He notices her struggle and leans in, teasing her about her dancing skills. He laughs, saying he's thought about it before and that she really can't dance. Our girl quickly retorts, telling him he's not much of a dancer either. He laughs again, leaning in closer, and says, "But enough to lead you." Our girl smiles and sarcastically says, "That's great, really." She then says, "Now you know how good I am." Phillen, looking impressed, says he loves the dress she's wearing. She is taken aback by his comment and responds, "What?" He explains that her headdress is beautiful and that she must have put a lot of effort into her look for the debut. Our girl, however, laughs quietly, thinking that he has completely forgotten the silver dress she had chosen, one that matched his silver suit. It's clear to her that he didn't even care enough to remember in the first place. He asks if something's wrong, sensing that our girl is upset. She simply replies, "Nothing." Just as the moment passes, Duke Terry walks over to Phillen, greeting him. Our girl quietly steps away from them, her thoughts racing. As she walks, she feels a sense of relief that Phillen is caught up in conversation, leaving her free to collect her thoughts. She can't help but think that it's probably a good thing he got distracted, otherwise, she might have been angry in front of everyone. In the next scene, we see our girl standing by herself, probably trying to enjoy a quiet moment. But just when we think she's about to have some peace, someone calls out from behind. The voice says something that catches her attention immediately, and when she turns, she hears the person call her by the name, Lady Tevesa. She turns around and is surprised. She says the name too, Lady Tevesa. Then Phillen also joins in, repeating the same words, Lady Tevesa. And as if that wasn't enough, our girl echoes it again, Lady Tevesa. We're introduced to the woman they're all addressing. It's Marchioness Marissa. As our girl turns fully, she recognizes the lady and softly says her name, Marchioness Marissa. The lady seems pleased and asks if our girl knows who she is. Without hesitation, Layla replies, saying everyone knows Madame Marissa. Before we even settle into that moment, another lady walks up to the group and asks why their conversation sounds so clear. Lady Layla, in her thoughts, wishes to be alone. But it's already too late for that. One by one, more ladies begin to gather around them. Then, another voice in the group speaks, mentioning that Lady Tevesa is also here. She adds a compliment, saying our girl looks elegant enough to become the next Duchess. Our girl thanks her for the kind words. However, things start taking a turn when one of them casually asks when the wedding will be. She adds that the war is over now, so there's no reason to delay. And then, another lady quickly jumps in, saying the wedding got delayed because of the war, and naturally, our girl would want to have a child soon. Just when we think the questions might stop, Countess Byzantine suddenly appears. She doesn't waste any time before intruding in the conversation. With a calm but sharp tone, she asks if it even matters, since the Duke already has a successor. At this moment, our girl turns to look at her. She instantly recognizes her as Sophia Byzantine, and here's where things take a deeper turn. We get to know that before her marriage, Sophia was known as Sophia Hodlin. She used to be the lady of Duke Hodgson. Back then, there were talks that Duke Williams and his wife would pick her to be Phillen's future wife. Everyone, including Sophia herself, believed it was going to happen. But when the final decision was made, it wasn't her. Instead, they chose our girl, the young lady from the frontier. That moment changed everything. We are shocked to learn that after the decision, Sophia came to our girl and did something unkind. What happened back then wasn't known to the world, but our girl remembers clearly that she was slapped. Her parents, the Count and Countess of Tevesa, chose the hush money offered by Duke Hodlin over standing by their daughter. Later on, Sophia got married and became Countess of Byzantine. Our girl never thought she would meet her again in a place like this. Now, back to the present. Sophia places her hand on her chin and makes a sharp comment. She says people should know their place and criticizes those who aim too high without knowing where they stand. Then, she throws in another comment, talking about Duke William's child and how much he cares about the woman who had the child. She even adds that the woman is the queen of the Malice kingdom and, in her opinion, has better blood than Lady Layla. Our girl catches the sarcasm right away. She knows what Sophia is trying to say, that she isn't the biological daughter of the Countess of Tevesa. And truth be told, if anyone looks closely, it's something many already know. Then, Sophia teases again, saying maybe she hit the mark. Our girl responds with calm confidence. She says the queen may have noble blood, but she's from a fallen kingdom, which makes her an impossible match for an imperial man. She adds that what matters is the present and the future. She boldly says she'll be a duchess soon, and that just as Sophia will always be a countess, her own title won't be taken away. That statement stings. Sophia's face shows her anger immediately. Our girl, not wanting to stir more trouble, asks to rest alone. Marchioness Marissa responds politely, and everyone steps back. Our girl walks away, leaving the group behind. She heads to the balcony and stands there alone. She reflects on what just happened. If Sophia can say such things to her face, our girl wonders how much worse she's saying behind her back. She's tired and thinks she would rather be buried in paperwork than deal with this. She softly whispers that she wants to go back to the mansion. But just when you think the drama is over, a voice responds to her. The person says the night has just started and wonders why she wants to leave already. She turns around slowly, and standing behind her is none other than the Emperor himself. And he calls her name, Lady Tevesa. In this scene, we find ourselves at a turning point. The Emperor, who has been hiding his true identity all this while, finally speaks up. With a calm voice, he tells our girl that her greeting sounds too distant. He then explains that this is the very reason he never wanted her to know who he truly was, but now that the truth is out, it's too late to hide anymore. She doesn't seem too surprised. In fact, she calmly replies that it was something they were bound to find out one day anyway. Hearing this, he folds his armor and asks her a simple question: does she now know his name? Without hesitation, she answers with full confidence. She says his full name, his title, and even the name of the empire. It's clear she knows exactly who he is. The Emperor then remarks that since he's been found out, he wonders if he can now speak freely. She gives him permission, politely telling him that he can speak comfortably. Right after that, he wants to know what brought her to this place. And she explains that she was there to get the wing. In response, he comments on the heat at the banquet, adding that it must be uncomfortable to stand like that. But she simply says she's fine. Yet, he isn't satisfied with that reply. He says her tone sounds stiff. Then something surprising happens. He holds her hand and gently tells her not to act that way. He even pulls her toward his seat and tells her not to stand anymore, but to sit down. At first, she resists. She says she can't sit. But he cuts her off, saying it's okay. He understands that her outfit might be uncomfortable. She thanks him for his kindness, and he replies that she shouldn't refuse the offer. It's clear he doesn't want her to push back. The conversation continues, and he asks if she's enjoying the party. She responds that she is, thanks to him. But he doesn't believe her. He says she looked bored not long ago. With a little smile, he even admits that he's tired of it all too. According to him, going through boring parties is not fun at all. He'd much rather be looking through documents. Then he ends the thought by asking if she agrees. As she looks at him, a thought runs through her mind. It surprises her that he feels the same way she does. And although she now knows he is the Emperor, she still feels like she can talk to him comfortably. It's like she's seeing a different side of him, one she didn't expect. He then notices her gaze and asks why she's looking at him like that. She quickly apologizes, but he stops her again. He says he doesn't want her to apologize. What he wants instead is the reason behind her stare. He even wonders if there's something on his face. She replies with a no, but that only leads him to touch his chin and look down, wondering if maybe he looks especially bad today. At this point, she can't believe what she's hearing. In her mind, she's thinking that what he's saying sounds so silly, but he's saying it with such seriousness that it's almost funny. She can't hold back a laugh. But then she instantly regrets it. She realizes she shouldn't have laughed like that and tells him she was being rude. He speaks up, trying to explain himself, saying he didn't mean what he said in a bad way. He quickly adds that he likes seeing her smile and doesn't want her to misunderstand. However, she isn't buying it. She says he's been making fun of her since before. But he disagrees. He says he hasn't and continues, saying that he keeps trying to express himself, yet she always thinks he's mocking her. At this point, our girl seems a bit unsure, so she asks him if he tells everyone the same thing. He replies that he only says it to someone he likes. That reply catches her attention. So she asks if that means he likes her. He says yes. She follows it with a simple question, why? And just like that, she takes a small step away from him. He calmly responds by asking if there needs to be a reason to like someone. She thinks there should be, and she tries to give examples, saying maybe it's because someone is pretty or smart. But before she can finish, he cuts her off and asks if all those things apply to her. She answers no. Then, folding his arms and pressing his mouth, he says she doesn't even know her own worth. Now, just when we think this tender moment might end, an official walks in. He calls out to the emperor and reminds him that it's time to go. As the emperor starts to leave, Layla watches him. Her thoughts begin to race. She realizes he's about to go, so she decides she should see him off. She stands up, but suddenly, she trips. Right before she hits the ground, he catches her. Still in his arms, she says she's okay and quickly apologizes. But instead of scolding her, he gently says that in this case, she should be saying thank you, not sorry. She agrees and thanks him. Then, he tells her that if there's anything she feels uncomfortable about, he will call the doctor. But she refuses politely. Hearing that, he tells her he's glad, and as he walks away, he looks back at her with a smile. From our point of view, it feels like something special just passed between them. As she watches him go, she thinks to herself how kind he is. She wonders what people would say if they had seen her mistake. But then, just when we think the scene is over, someone else enters, Phillen. He walks straight to the balcony where she is, and she softly says his name. He places one hand on her shoulder. What he says next catches everyone off guard. With a serious expression, he tells her she's cheating on him. And just like that, the peaceful air turns heavy. We're introduced to our girl at a moment when she's silently questioning the world around her. In her thoughts, she's surprised. Cheating? Who, me? She doesn't even get the chance to say it out loud when Phillen suddenly holds her by the shoulders, his tone as hard as stone. He says he can't believe she's having an affair in a place like this, and without missing a beat, he calls her a big liar. In the next scene, she looks at him and asks him who he thinks had an affair. She tells him to stop talking nonsense, but instead of calming down, he insists he saw it with his own 2 eyes. She completely rejects that, which only makes things worse. He then reminds her of what he saw, her standing in the arms of His Majesty. She quickly corrects him, saying it wasn't a hug at all. According to her, it was just the emperor helping her. But Phillen isn't having it. He doesn't believe that at all and then asks why she smiles so brightly in front of His Majesty. Her reply stings a bit. She tells him she can't exactly make an angry or upset face at the emperor. Still not convinced, he blurts out that she's never smiled like that in front of him. And her answer is as cold as ice. She says he wants her to smile like that. She explains there's nothing to smile about when she's with him anymore. She tells him to look at what he does these days and then asks how he expects her to smile. He's confused and repeats her words, "What did he do?" And she scoffs. She doesn't say it out loud, but in her mind, she can't believe he truly doesn't know. And just when we think it's about to end there, he brings up the name Sisley. Now, here comes the twist. He starts talking again, explaining that Sisley is being taken care of because she's carrying his child. He says once the baby is born, he plans to take her straight out of the mansion. But when she turns her face toward him, she tells him she doesn't believe him one bit. He tries to convince her by saying she just has to trust him. But she makes it clear that trust doesn't come from words, it comes from actions. According to her, he only moves for Sisley and never shows her any concern. So, how could she trust him like this? He tries to defend himself, saying Sisley can't handle things alone. But our girl is already comparing it silently in her mind. She has been doing everything all by herself, and no one helped her. Then she asks the one question that really matters. She wants to know the truth. Would he ever marry her? Because from where she stands, it seems like he's trying to make Sisley the Duchess. She says she doesn't believe anything anymore. But if he's serious, then he should do something she can actually believe. She even thinks to herself that she could ask him to kick Sisley out now, but that would be too low. Just when we think she's said it all, he suddenly shouts that they have to keep Sisley. But then, he suddenly changes his tone and says he will do what it takes to make her believe. She agrees, and without another word, he grabs her hand and starts dragging her toward the banquet hall. She's still trying to understand what's going on when she asks him who he really is. But he doesn't answer. Instead, he walks straight to the front of the banquet, where His Majesty is seated, and calls out to him loudly. The Emperor looks up and asks what's going on. Phillen then speaks boldly in front of everyone, saying he is here to ask for permission for the marriage between Phillen Williams and Layla Tavessa. Now, here's the moment that leaves us completely stunned. Our girl is standing there, thinking to herself, what is he even saying? But before anyone can react, His Majesty replies, and what he says is totally unexpected. He says it can't be. The camera shifts to Phillen, and his eyes go wide in shock. Meanwhile, the Emperor keeps his thoughts to himself, thinking quietly that Phillen doesn't know why this can't happen. And worse, he believes Phillen might just be too stupid to understand. And just when we thought we'd seen it all, this happens. Now, we're taken right into the middle of the room, where Phillen stands before the Emperor and asks why he won't give his permission. The Emperor stares at him, silently thinking that not only is this young man foolish, but he also seems to enjoy digging his own grave. Then, the ruler speaks, asking if he truly doesn't know Duke Williams. Phillen doesn't try to explain much. Instead, he says the real reason is Layla. At that moment, our girl steps forward to help, explaining that the Duke does know. She reminds the room that when the imperial family holds a big ceremony, the nobles don't have a separate 3-month celebration, and the event they're planning is called the Celebration of Truth. She adds that someone of the Duke's status cannot possibly be unaware of this rule. The Emperor asks again, if they know that, then why do they want permission now? Our girl answers honestly, saying it because she wants to get married within the year. And, as everyone knows, the higher the noble rank, the more steps it takes to get married. Looking at the man beside her, she tells him that since he wanted to marry her this year, she thought it was best to get permission early. She even asks him to agree, and he does. The moment he responds, she takes a deep breath. Around the hall, whispers and soft chatter begin to rise. A man nearby mentions how much the Duke seems to like his fiancé, and a woman replies that maybe he was just trying to secure permission for an early wedding. She admits that she thought there were problems between the couple, but then says a mistress is just a mistress, and a fiancé is a fiancé. The Emperor listens and quietly admits in her thoughts that she has done well in protecting the Duke's dignity and shaping the crowd's opinion in a good way. Then, with a calm voice, she says she understands their request, but because she's quite busy, she wants to wrap things up in a month. She asks if Duke Williams can wait that long. He agrees without complaint, and the two quietly walk away. As they walk, our girl silently thinks that no matter how much the Emperor wants to approve it, it's sad to leave her stuck with such a foolish man for life. Strangely enough, the Emperor is thinking the same thing, deciding she must call our girl for a maintenance exam soon. Later that evening, the banquet ends, and the couple rides together in the carriage. Phillen sits with a frown on his face, clearly not pleased. Layla wonders what's bothering him. Finally, he turns to her and asks why she didn't tell him about the tradition. She seems confused, and he accuses her of setting him up to be embarrassed by the emperor. She tells him that she had no way of knowing what he would say, and sadly admits she doesn't have any powers to see the future. He's still upset and says she should have at least given him a hint. At this point, she holds her head in frustration and thinks about how upset she is to hear such things. Without the Duchess, she believes, she would have remained just a useless Count Lady. When they arrive at the mansion, he steps out of the carriage, and we see someone running toward him. It's Sisley. He immediately hugs her, holding her tight. Our girl quietly watches and wonders why he's allowing Sisley outside so freely. She begins to ask herself if it's really okay. Layla sits in her office, buried under a mountain of paperwork, her focus unwavering despite the passing hours. Her maid gently urges her to take a break and have lunch, reminding her that she's been working non-stop since the Duke left, barely taking time to eat. Just as Layla is about to respond, a sudden knock interrupts the quiet, and the door swings open. To her surprise, Cecilia steps inside, the first time she's come to Layla in person. Cecilia greets her politely, but Layla, distracted and annoyed, asks her either to leave or get straight to the point since she's busy. Cecilia assures her it won't take long and sits down on the sofa, explaining that the Duke mentioned they're all moving to the estate next week. With a bright smile masking a hidden agenda, Cecilia asks Layla for a favor, to help buy clothes and toys for her unborn child. Layla eyes her sharply, making Cecilia uneasy enough to ask why she's staring like that. Cecilia reminds Layla that she's soon to be a stepmother and points out that in this new place, there are no maids to take care of such tasks. She expects Layla to help since they share the same social rank. Layla smiles inwardly at the audacity of this woman, clearly trying to treat her like a servant, a pretense that amuses her. After a brief pause, Layla tells Cecilia firmly to leave and demands that she stop calling her Miss, insisting that from now on she be addressed properly as Lady. She reminds Cecilia that her kingdom has fallen and the Heliad family name is no more. Cecilia jumps up, shouting that none of this changes the fact she remains a princess. Layla counters calmly, stating that Cecilia was a princess but now is no different from a commoner. Still, Layla promises to treat her with respect, solely because she's carrying her fiancé's child. She assures Cecilia this courtesy will last only until the baby is born, and she leaves the mansion, warning her not to cause a scene over petty matters. Cecilia, clearly surprised, asks if she will really have to leave the mansion. Layla confirms with quiet certainty, revealing that Phillen intends to kick her out once the child is born. Watching Cecilia's stunned reaction, it's obvious she was kept in the dark by Phillen. Without another word, Layla walks to the front door and opens it, signaling for Cecilia to leave. Before she goes, Layla calmly tells her she cannot promise to be a good mother to the child but will not mock him either. As soon as Cecilia exits, Layla feels an overwhelming need to rest. She orders the sofa to be cleaned and carries her documents to another room, hoping a change of scenery will help her focus. But even after relocating, her mind refuses to settle. The exhaustion finally catches up with her, and she decides to lie down for just a short while because there is still so much work ahead. She dozes off right there on the sofa, surrounded by a pile of unfinished papers. The sun dips low, casting the room into a dim twilight when a sudden, sharp knock on the door startles her awake. Blinking in confusion, she opens her eyes to see her fiancé standing there with a furious expression, his presence filling the room with tension. The Duke stands in the doorway, his voice sharp as he asks why Layla acted the way she did. Instantly, she suspects Cecilia is involved again. He demands to know why she spoke so harshly to Cecilia, accusing her of cruelty. Layla calmly explains that Cecilia is no longer a princess and has no right to behave disrespectfully toward her. She simply informs Cecilia that after the child is born, she will be leaving the mansion. The Duke erupts, shouting that such harsh words were unnecessary toward a girl who lost her country and insists that Cecilia's departure is his business, not hers. Layla presses him, asking if he has even told Cecilia about it. His silence is answer enough, so she reveals she took the initiative because he would never dare to do it himself. Phillen demands to know who she thinks she is. Layla responds firmly that she is his fiancé. The Duke snarls back that while she may be his fiancé, she is not the Duchess. Despite living in the estate for over 10 years, she still hasn't understood that she isn't the Duchess and should not interfere in the Duchess' affairs. Those words sting deeply, reminding Layla of the previous Duke and Duchess, Phillen's parents, who treated her like their own daughter. It was for their sake she had tried so hard all these years, working tirelessly for the Williot family's benefit, only to now face humiliation from her fiancé because of his mistress, Cecilia. The Duke looms over her and asks if she understands him clearly this time. Everything crystallizes in her mind. This cannot continue. She answers that she understands and abruptly rises from the sofa. Without hesitation, she pulls out a chest bearing the family seal and places it firmly on the table before him. In that moment, she silently asks forgiveness from the Duke and Duchess who raised her but knows she cannot keep going this way. She declares that from now on, the Williot family's affairs are no longer her concern. Phillen protests, calling her irresponsible, but she snaps back sharply to watch his language. She reminds him that he should have been managing these responsibilities from the beginning, but since he ignored them, she stepped in to handle everything. The duties of a duchess are not hers either. She is just the daughter of a provincial count and from now on, he should take care of his own affairs. As she leaves, the Duke insists that if she is trying to force an apology, it will be futile. Layla throws the papers at him and replies that there is nothing left to discuss, she is tired and needs rest. As she steps out of the office, a maid approaches with letters from her assistant, but Layla stops her immediately, declaring that from now on, all work matters should be directed to his lordship. Some time later, the young Duke sits alone at a massive table cluttered with papers. He picks up one document after another, struggling to decide where to begin. Over an hour passes as he studies a report on rainy season expenses and becomes increasingly frustrated. He notes how much money Layla spent preparing for the rainy season, more than the land's rent, and sees no reason to waste so much on something as trivial as rain. Determined to cut costs drastically, unlike what he calls stupid Layla's foolish spending, he briefly hesitates, considering consulting her. But he quickly banishes the thought, deciding he must handle this without her knowledge so she can no longer look down on him. He resolves to review the budget alone, uncertain how to uncover any issues on his own. Then he remembers the library might hold the answers he needs, giving him a new direction to pursue. The Duke calls the butler and orders him to bring the key to the library. He quickly prepares to go there, focused on his task. Suddenly, Cecilia jumps on him from behind and starts tickling him. She knows he is busy but explains that she wants to stay close because of the tension with Lady Tabisa. The Duke smiles and embraces her tenderly, telling her he always has time for her and can handle his work later. When the butler arrives with the library key, the Duke tells him to leave it there and leave. Cecilia's attention shifts to the papers on the table discussing preparations for the rainy season and managing risks. She wonders quietly if he plans to invite a magician during the rainy season while scanning through the documents. After the butler leaves, Cecilia tells the Duke she has a small request but he must promise to do whatever she asks. The Duke is cautious, but she quickly reveals it concerns their child. Early in the morning, Layla sits in a room, unsure what to do since she no longer handles the Duke's paperwork and having barely slept all night. Suddenly, she remembers a book she once read and decides to go to the library. Near the library, she encounters the butler who informs her that the Duke took the only key last night and hasn't returned it. Layla is surprised that Phillen is in the library instead of the training grounds. She expected him to slack off, not work on documents. Without a spare key available, Layla realizes she must get the key from the Duke himself. Knowing it will be difficult to meet him right after handing over all responsibilities, she asks the butler about his whereabouts. The butler says the Duke isn't in the library yet but is still sleeping, probably with Cecilia. Accepting there's nothing to be done now, Layla turns away from the library. Suddenly, a maid informs her that her assistant urgently wants to contact her through the magic ball about an important matter. Although reluctant to involve herself in work, Layla decides to listen. Through the magic ball, the Baron explains he reached out regarding rainy season preparations. Layla tells him she can no longer assist since the Duke now manages these affairs personally. The Baron is surprised and begs her to check how far the Duke has progressed because the preparations must be approved quickly. He expects the documents today. The connection cuts off immediately after. Layla knows restoring a magic ball takes 2 days even after brief use, so she has no time to object. Annoyed but unwilling to ignore important matters, she decides to retrieve the library key by knocking on the Duke's door. When the door opens, Cecilia appears. Layla notices a necklace around Cecilia's neck, feeling it strange she wears it even while sleeping. She asks where the Duke is, and Cecilia replies he is still sleeping after a tiring night. Layla senses from Cecilia's tone that she no longer pretends to be polite in front of her. Layla tells Cecilia to inform the Duke she has arrived with important business, but just then, the door opens wider and the Duke steps out. He acknowledges her presence, asking what she wants. Meanwhile, far away in the imperial palace, the emperor's assistant is puzzled why he cannot take his eyes off a certain handkerchief. He comments on its beauty with a smile, but the emperor doesn't share the enthusiasm and sees nothing special in the scarf. The emperor asks about the preparations for the examination. His assistant quickly hands over the questions he has prepared and asks the emperor to check if they are too difficult. The emperor skims through them, immediately tears up the papers, and demands more complex questions. He explains that he does not want idiots as his assistants. The assistant reacts with indignation and even doubts whether the emperor truly wants to find a new assistant, but the emperor insists he has no doubt. He reveals that he already has a candidate in mind but will decide only after seeing the exam results. Meanwhile, back at the Duke's mansion, the Duke asks Layla coldly what business brought her to his chambers. He assumes she has come to apologize for her behavior last night. Layla just smiles and says she isn't sure she has anything to apologize for. She explains that the Baron contacted her because he did not know she had transferred all the responsibilities to her fiancé. The rainy season is approaching, so the Baron asked for the approved documents to be sent promptly. The Duke arrogantly replies that he has already checked and approved everything. He adds that he found some problems and solved them but refuses to reveal details, since it's no longer her concern and her little help is unnecessary. Layla feels deeply offended by his words dismissing her help. She stands silently as the Duke tenderly embraces his mistress and disappears behind his chamber door. She doesn't get a chance to ask about the library key but learns from the butler that the Duke personally sent all the documents, so there's nothing to worry about. Suddenly, Layla notices an invitation letter and immediately recognizes the pattern on it. It's from Byzantine County. She recalls Sophia and instantly realizes this is an attempt at revenge for the Emperor's banquet incident. Without hesitation, she tears the letter to pieces. Her maid asks if she heard the news that His Majesty the Emperor is looking for a new assistant. An official announcement is already published, and notably, it states boldly that women are allowed to apply. This surprises Layla and makes her think deeply. Although women's participation was never officially banned, this is the first time it is explicitly stated. She recalls a conversation when the Emperor asked if she would seize the chance to become a civil servant if such an opportunity arose. Layla even wonders if the announcement was because of her. She instructs her maid Sarah to gather as much information as possible about the document. About a month remains before the exam, which covers 7 disciplines including management, taxation, politics, and property. The breadth of subjects is greater than Layla expected, but she understands the importance of the position. Being close to the Emperor requires a competent assistant, and she knows the responsibility is immense. Acting recklessly is impossible, but she is determined not to give up as she selects the right book to prepare for the exam. Suddenly, she hears a voice behind her and a hand offers her a book. She turns to find the Emperor standing there. Before she can greet him, he gestures for her to keep his presence secret and asks her not to address him formally in public. Layla thanks him for the advice but explains she has already read the book he recommended. The Emperor pauses and then points her to another book, which she also says she has read. He shows her one book after another, but she has already read every single one he suggests. Smiling, he remarks that she probably no longer needs to study politics. He adds that this means he must make the exam even more difficult. Then he asks if she could help him with something, saying he needs her assistance. His words strike a chord with her because he expresses that he truly needs her help. Our girl tells the Emperor how she first heard about quilt seeds 5 years ago, back when they were still around and hadn't gone out of season yet. She explains how she was so worried at that time because the amount of rainfall had been gradually going down since the year before, and just like she feared, a really terrible drought eventually hit. The emperor agrees, confirming that the drought was so bad that it became difficult to even supply the basics for the ongoing war. She continues, saying that the only reason they made it through that crisis was because they were able to store up cereals ahead of time, though even with that, everyone still had to search for ways to adapt and survive through it. That's when they ended up discovering the quilt seeds. He nods and mentions that those seeds are known to grow well even in places like deserts, which is pretty rare and valuable. Our girl tells him that she offered to help with the situation, but she's unsure how much use she'll actually be now since she's lost so much of her previous knowledge. He disagrees gently, telling her that even though he's only heard a little of what she said, he can already tell that her foundation of knowledge is impressive. He adds that just the fact that she came along with him already made him feel more at ease and comforted. She blushes a little at that and tries to convince herself that he probably didn't mean anything too serious or deep by those words. It's just the way he talks. As they walk through the shop, she suddenly spots something behind him. Her eyes get drawn to a particular necklace, and she finds herself staring at it. She thinks to herself that the gemstone attached to it looks strangely familiar, like something she's seen before. She begins wondering if maybe someone had worn it during the celebration or if she's seen it somewhere else. The emperor notices the way her attention has shifted and asks her if there's anything she likes. She immediately waves it off and tells him no, there's nothing, but he can tell that her interest was caught. He calls over the sales attendant and points at the necklace she was just looking at, saying he wants to have a closer look at it. The sales attendant praises his taste and starts talking about the necklace. He says that it's a special one, a magical necklace made using a magic stone with real powers. He explains that the gemstone has magical energy that developed on its own naturally, which is very uncommon and incredibly difficult to come across. Our male lead asks what exactly the magic is supposed to do, and the sales attendant says that it'll be better if he just shows them instead of explaining it with words. He picks up the necklace in his right hand and then, using a clear, commanding voice, says the word transform. At first glance, it looks like nothing has happened. The emperor frowns slightly and says that he doesn't see anything different. The sales attendant tells him to look a bit more carefully. And right at that moment, his left arm visibly changes, it becomes bigger and more muscular, looking almost twice as large as before. He explains that the necklace has the ability to let the person wearing it transform a specific part of their body however they want. He then turns to them and asks if they see it now, if they realize how powerful that is. Our girl is just about to say something, but the emperor speaks up before she can finish, saying that honestly, it sounds like a pretty useless ability to him. She then says that she doesn't know if it's because of the stone's magic, but it really does look beautiful. The sales attendant agrees with her, noting that the color is a little more muted than usual, which adds to its charm. The emperor then turns back to her and asks if she wants it. She quickly declines, saying that she's okay and that there's no need. But even as they continue moving, she can't help but keep glancing at it. It still looks very familiar to her, and she tries to remember exactly where she might have seen it before. Eventually, she thinks that if she can't recall, it probably wasn't that important in the first place and lets the thought slide. She then asks him if he's found what he was looking for, to which he replies that he hasn't. She comments that this shop is supposed to be the newest one on Green Road, but even with that, they've looked through everything and still came up short. He says that maybe they should wrap up the day now since there doesn't seem to be anything left to check. She agrees, and they leave the shop together. Once they are outside, he turns to her and thanks her sincerely for taking the time to come with him, saying that he'll remember this day and repay her for it later. She smiles and tells him that there's no need to do that she's honestly just glad she could help even a little. He then reaches into his coat and pulls out a small white box, handing it over to her. She takes it from him with both hands, opens it slowly, and is shocked to see the magical necklace from earlier sitting neatly inside. Her eyes widen as she looks at him and asks when he even bought it and why he's giving it to her now. He tells her that it's a gift to thank her for all the help she gave him today. She tries to tell him again that she really didn't do anything special. He replies firmly, saying that it's an imperial order and she must accept it. She's taken aback by how casually he says something like that over a simple present, but even so, she holds the necklace tightly and thanks him sincerely. He tells her that showing appreciation is better than giving apologies, and right after that, he tells her that from now on, no matter what he says, she should just say thank you. She blinks and asks him if that's supposed to be an order now too, but he shakes his head and says no, it's not an order, it's a favor. She pauses for a second and then responds with a quiet thank you, making him smile. He watches her and notes to himself that she's a model student, applying what she just learned without wasting a moment. Right then, one of his guards walks up to him and politely informs him that it's time to head back. He turns toward the guard, slightly taken aback at how fast time has passed. He didn't even realize how late it had gotten. He then turns back to our girl and tells her goodbye, saying that he'll see her again very soon. She watches him closely and then asks if this is another situation where she's supposed to appreciate him. He chuckles at her question and admits that that one's a bit hard to judge. He laughs again and says that maybe he should take back what he said about her having to say thank you for everything. Later on, our girl is in a carriage, sitting across from Sarah. She looks over and apologizes to her, saying that she feels bad for not being able to show her around properly. She promises that next time, she'll take her to visit the capital for real. Sarah waves it off with a kind smile, saying that it's completely fine and that she's already seen more than enough for one day. Our girl looks surprised and reminds her that she only showed her the green road. But Sarah shakes her head and says that even that alone was more than enough for her. Then her expression turns a bit more serious, and she adds that, more importantly, she has something she's been wondering about. Our girl encourages her to go ahead and ask whatever she's curious about. Sarah hesitates for a moment, then asks if the Duke from earlier has a higher title than our girl. But then she quickly corrects herself as the realization hits her all at once. He wasn't a duke, he was His Majesty, the Emperor himself. Her eyes go wide in panic, and her body stiffens with shock. She begins to stutter, trying to process what that means. Our girl sees the sudden fear in her and urges her to calm down. But Sarah shakes her head, asking how she's supposed to stay calm after what she just realized. She says that he's a murderer. Our girl's face shifts, and she quickly calls out to Sarah, warning her to be very careful with what she says, reminding her that talking like that can get someone arrested for defamation. Sarah gasps and immediately apologizes, saying that she was just caught off guard and that she'll be more careful moving forward. Our girl sighs and thinks quietly to herself. The Emperor, yes, the tyrant Emperor. The man who killed every last member of his own family, even his father, just to take the throne for himself. He was infamous for it. Everyone had heard the stories, yet, even so, standing next to him, he didn't seem like that kind of person at all. He didn't act the way the rumors described, but still, she couldn't really be sure what the truth was. Their carriage soon arrives at its destination. They get out, but as soon as they do, they freeze in place, both of them caught off guard. In front of them, laid out in full view, is a huge display of gifts and boxes piled one after the other, lining the entire entrance. Neither of them expected anything like it. It wasn't just a small delivery, it looked like an official offering, something that came straight from the palace itself. The sheer number of presents was overwhelming. They both stood there, staring at the scene, unsure of what to even say. Our girl glances at the mountain of presents blocking the front entrance and calls out to one of the male servants nearby, asking what all these things are for. He politely answers, telling her that these are the things the young lady bought. Hearing that title directed at Sisley makes Layla's chest tighten. Even though she's the one carrying Phillen's child, she can't get used to Sisley being addressed with the same title as her, treated with the same honor and respect in the mansion. She knows that if she dares complain, Sisley will make a fuss and twist the situation, so she swallows her discomfort quietly. Still puzzled, she turns to the servant again and confirms, asking if everything is really for Sisley. The servant nods, and Layla wonders what could make her buy so much. Her eyes scan over the packages, and she notices some boxes containing new dresses. Curious, she walks closer and checks them out. She understands that Sisley bought them because she doesn't have many clothes, but Layla knows from one glance that they're all tight-waisted dresses, which won't fit a pregnant woman. It's obvious Sisley won't be able to wear them for long. With a sigh, Layla asks for the receipts of the purchases. The servant hands them over without hesitation. As her eyes scan through the list, she feels a wave of shock rising inside her. 17 dresses, 19 pairs of shoes, plus a collection of expensive necklaces and accessories. Her jaw clenches in disbelief. Sisley used up nearly half of the territory's annual operating budget in one go. Layla's thoughts spin. This is madness. These clothes won't even be useful once Sisley gives birth, they'll go out of fashion, and she won't fit into them anymore. What on earth is she thinking? Layla tries to brush it off, reminding herself that now isn't the time to meddle. She has more important things to focus on. With a sigh, she returns the receipts and tells herself she needs to keep her distance. Sarah soon approaches, holding a tall stack of books in her arms. She asks Layla if she should take the books she bought earlier to her room. Before Layla can reply, a familiar voice interrupts them. It's the young Duke, and he turns to Sarah first, asking what she's carrying. Sarah answers nervously that they're the books the lady bought. He shifts his gaze to Layla and asks her why she bought so many books all of a sudden. Layla stays calm and answers that they're all necessary. He raises an eyebrow and reminds her that there are already a lot of books in the Duke's office, and then questions her intentions, asking if she plans to meddle in the mansion's business. She quickly denies it. He presses further, still not understanding, and asks why she needs them. She explains that she plans to take the management examination. He blinks, surprised, and reminds her that only the top minds of the Empire attempt that exam. Does she really think she can pass? She tells him that she won't know unless she tries. He laughs, saying she's too overconfident and tells her not to waste her time. She exhales slowly and tells him firmly that she knows how to manage her own time. He calls her stubborn and flatly declares that she won't pass. Layla looks at him and asks what if she does. Her words leave him speechless for a second. He then says that if she does pass, he'll grant her a wish, anything she wants. But if she doesn't, then she must apologize to Sisley for her past behavior. Later, while alone in her room, Layla studies the books she purchased. She recalls their conversation, and the thought of apologizing to Sisley makes her stomach churn. There's no way she'll let that happen. She swears she'll pass the exam. Still, doubt creeps in. Can she really succeed? Or is she just making reckless decisions without thinking? But she knows it's too late to turn back now. She remembers the person who gave her this chance, and she refuses to let them down. She tells herself to stay strong, to do her best no matter what. Just then, Sarah returns to her chamber and tells Layla that since they're heading back to the territory tomorrow, she should let her know in advance if there's any luggage she needs help with. Layla is confused. She wasn't planning to return so soon. She says that she thought she'd stay in the capital a bit longer, so she doesn't understand. Sarah responds, saying the Duke instructed her to prepare 2 wagons. Wanting to clear things up, Layla goes out to find Phillen and asks directly. She sees him sitting beneath a tree and approaches him. He sees her and asks what she came to say. She asks if it's true that they're returning to the territory tomorrow. He confirms it, saying that he's been in the capital too long and needs to get back to monitor the situation with the rainy season. She then asks if something happened. He says there's no problem with returning, it's just him, he's the problem. She quickly reminds him that there are only 3 weeks left before the exam and that she wants to stay to prepare. Traveling back and forth would waste time, and being caught in the rain would cause more delays. He then reminds her of the promise she made about inspecting the territory. She recalls saying she would check on the citizens' lives before the rains began, but she tells herself that she's not part of the Duke's family anymore. Still, she asks if he plans to join her on the inspection. He tells her he has no intention to, but if she doesn't go, there might be a conflict with the wizards, which could ruin the family's reputation. She admits to herself that he's right. As annoying as it is, skipping the inspection could damage everything. She tells him she understands and agrees to return to the territory. He gets up, saying that since she's busy, they can end the conversation here. Even if she weren't, he adds, he'll be buried in work related to the Duchess. He mutters that they haven't even returned yet, and already he's drowning in tasks. He wonders how it'll be once they arrive. Layla watches him, sensing how tired he looks. She tells him to do his best. He asks if that's all she wanted to say, and when she nods, he walks away. Phillen heads to his office. On his desk lie 2 long rolls of paperwork. He sits down with a sigh and grabs one of them. Looking over the document, he grumbles about how they've made no effort to reduce the paperwork. He even tried handing over some of the Duchess's responsibilities to Layla, but she didn't seem to understand his intentions. He expected as much. In his eyes, she's plain, lacking charm, and he doubts if she's truly capable of anything at all. At that moment, Sisley walks in with a soft voice, calling him by name. She notes how tired he must be and offers to help. He thanks her kindly but says that the work isn't something she can handle since she isn't from the Empire. Sisley insists that she really wants to help, and he smiles slightly, calling her kind. He laments out loud, if only Layla were half as kind and considerate as Sisley is. Sisley then picks up one of the documents and looks through it, saying she could handle it. Phillen watches her quietly. The next day, as the journey back to the territory begins, Layla stands at the entrance and bids Sarah goodbye with a gentle tone, assuring her not to worry too much. She tells her that after completing the inspection, she'll return to the capital, and Sarah smiles softly, responding positively with a nod that makes Layla feel more at ease. Her eyes then drift toward the carriage, and she pauses, surprised to see Phillen already seated and dressed sharply, his appearance noticeably neat and striking. She expected him to be with Sisley, not riding beside her. As the carriage begins moving, a strange silence fills the air between them until Phillen suddenly breaks it, saying he has something he wants to talk about. Layla glances at him briefly, wondering if that's the real reason he chose to ride with her instead of Sisley. He says it's about their marriage preparations, and the unexpectedness of the topic makes her heart skip a beat as she stiffens slightly. He notices her reaction and immediately questions her expression, asking bluntly whether she doesn't want to marry him. Her mind flashes back to the suffocating emotion she felt the last time this subject was brought up, the heaviness pressing on her chest as if she couldn't breathe. She hesitates but quickly answers, telling him it's not that she doesn't want to, it's just that she's a little surprised, that's all. Phillen raises an eyebrow and reminds her that he already mentioned his intention to marry her at the party. He then tells her that the wedding will take place in October, before winter sets in, and it'll be held in the land of Williet. He asks her for her thoughts on the arrangement, and she calmly replies that she's fine with it. Still, a part of her knows she can't keep living as an insecure fiancé, she needs to become the Duchess of Williet soon and finally settle down. Wanting to show her willingness, she smiles faintly and tells him that once they return to the manor, she'll start trying on wedding dresses right away. Her words make Phillen chuckle, and he calls her name warmly, telling her that brides don't prepare for weddings themselves. Layla tilts her head and asks, then who will help? Will he ask Countess de Besser, perhaps? But Phillen casually replies that Sisley already volunteered, right from the moment she heard about it, she happily said she would help. The word happily echoes in Layla's mind as she repeats it quietly in disbelief, stunned that Sisley would offer such assistance with a smile. She wonders silently if Sisley is truly willing to help or if there's some hidden motive behind it. She looks at Phillen and questions what reason Sisley would have for involving herself in this matter. She brings up the difference between Moulis and Carden, saying that while it might be acceptable in the Moulis kingdom for the main wife to prepare a wedding, in the Carden Empire, it's a different story altogether. She asks him if people won't laugh at them, knowing that the bride prepared her own wedding or that another woman, especially the queen herself, was involved. She suggests again that it might be wiser to entrust the task to Countess de Besser instead. Phillen's mood darkens instantly, and without giving her a proper answer, he orders the carriage to stop. His voice sharp and cold, he calls her arrogant and selfish, then storms out of the carriage, his steps heavy with irritation. He walks straight to Sisley's carriage. Sisley watches him approach with concern and softly notes that things must not have gone well. Phillen nods in agreement. Sisley thinks to herself that there's no more time to waste, they need to lay the trap now. With a delicate expression, she gently asks him what would happen if Layla isn't just unobservant but actually looks down on him. Her words catch Phillen off guard, and he turns to her with a glare, clearly irritated, but she quickly apologizes, telling him to forget what she said, insisting it's just her opinion. After a pause, Phillen admits that she may be right, saying that it's time to tighten the reins so that everyone remembers who he is. Sisley agrees, remarking that in their kingdom, it's unthinkable for a countess to look down on a duke. As their carriages continue onward, the atmosphere remains heavy. Upon arriving at the territory, they're greeted at the entrance by Baron Wizard, who stands respectfully with his hand to his chest. He first welcomes the duke, then turns to Sisley beside him and greets her as well. Finally, his eyes land on Layla, and his expression softens as he warmly welcomes her, asking how she's been. He then quietly asks if she has a moment to spare. Layla nods and responds that she's been well, then curiously asks what the issue is. Baron Wizard explains that he wants to discuss something regarding the rainy season preparations. Layla shakes her head and answers coldly that if that's the topic, he should discuss it with the Duke instead, it's no longer her business. But Baron Wizard insists, saying it is her business, and he wants her opinion first. Before she can respond further, Phillen calls out sharply to the Baron, demanding to know what he's about to say to Lady Thebessa. The Baron calmly repeats that he wishes to talk about the rainy season preparations. Phillen's tone hardens as he asks why he's going to her instead of to him. He accuses the Baron of possibly looking down on him too. Layla quickly steps in, telling Phillen to stop, explaining that the Baron simply wants her advice, nothing more. But Phillen isn't convinced. He scorns the idea of seeking advice from someone with only a few years of experience and says firmly that this time he'll be clear, Baron Wizard is not to speak to Layla about any of the Duke's business from now on. Layla's heart sinks as she hears his words, her eyes wide in disbelief, her voice caught in her throat as she stares at him silently, feeling the sting of rejection and humiliation. A few days later, as she reflects on the event, she admits to herself that in the end, she never did finish that conversation with Baron Wizard. Still, even with the divorce rumors swirling in the air, she feels more at peace than before. Out in the field, Layla walks alongside the Duke as they check in on the residents, ensuring preparations for the rainy season are in place. Phillen stops and speaks with an elderly man, asking if he's faced any difficulties while working. The man smiles and replies that everything is fine and that the rainy season preparations went smoothly thanks to the early planning. Phillen listens and watches the exchange, thinking quietly to himself that although he had been worried Layla might be inexperienced, she seems to care about the territory's affairs more deeply than he expected. He begins to feel that maybe he can trust her with more responsibility. As they continue walking, a small hand suddenly tugs on Layla's dress. She turns to see a little boy looking up at her with wide, hopeful eyes. Layla crouches down with a gentle smile, asking the boy softly what's wrong. The little one fidgets nervously, then tells her that he has something to say and hopes the Lord can take care of it. At that moment, behind the boy, the Duke appears with a deep, brooding frown, silently observing the scene, the weight of something unspoken in his expression. Layla gently tells the little boy that she isn't the Lord and calmly explains that the true Lord is right behind her. The boy turns to look over his shoulder at the Duke, who awkwardly forces a stiff smile, but the child frowns and shakes his head in disagreement. With innocent certainty, the boy points right back at her and insists that she is the Lord, saying she's the one who takes care of them all. His words settle heavily in the air. Just then, a woman hurries over and bows apologetically, explaining that the child is still very young and doesn't fully understand what he's saying. She pleads for forgiveness on his behalf. Layla quickly reassures her with warmth in her voice, saying the boy didn't do anything wrong at all. She begins to add that if there's an issue, they could probably solve it, but Phillen abruptly cuts her off. His voice firm and sharp, he commands her to stop speaking. He says she must be tired and tells her to return to the carriage and get some rest, adding pointedly that he, the Lord, will handle the rest. Without protest, she obeys and steps away from the people, returning quietly to the carriage. Some time later, the carriage door swings open and Phillen enters, slumping onto the seat with a weary sigh. Layla looks at him and softly asks if things didn't go well. He answers curtly that it's none of her business. After a short pause, he suddenly brings up their wedding and says that since she claimed Sisley wasn't competent in many areas, he'll ask Countess Thebessa for help. Layla blinks, stunned by his unexpected agreement, and finds herself caught off guard by his words. Phillen, noticing her reaction, points out that she doesn't look pleased and asks what's wrong since this is exactly what she wanted. He continues speaking, reminding her that she said she would prefer the Countess over Sisley. That's when she realizes he's doing this not out of consideration but out of childish pettiness, teasing her on purpose just to provoke a reaction. She hides her frustration and simply tells him that she'll need to take 2 days off her exam schedule. He raises his brow and asks if she hasn't given up on the exam yet. She answers that there's no way she would give up notary work. He follows up with another question, asking what she plans to do about the duties of a duchess if she passes the management exam. She answers without hesitation that she'll do both. He scoffs at her confidence, asking whether she really thinks she can handle both jobs at the same time. She asks in return why he thinks the duties of a duchess can't be done alongside other responsibilities. He tells her that while both are manor work, management tasks are more demanding. Moreover, if she works as the emperor's aide, she'll have a significant workload, making it almost impossible. Then, he adds that she seems to have forgotten something vital. Her actual role is to assist him in managing the family, bear children, and raise them properly. He declares sternly that he won't tolerate it if she neglects her responsibilities because she's too busy chasing something else. As she listens to him, Layla thinks to herself that he isn't entirely wrong. The late Duchess had told her the same thing, it was something absolute in their world. But even so, as he lays it out in front of her now, something inside her wants to argue against it. She doesn't know why, but hearing it from him makes her want to push back. Days pass. Layla slumps into her chair, her body heavy with fatigue. She lets out a quiet sigh and complains to herself about how tired she is. Sarah enters the room with her usual gentle energy and approaches her, offering comforting words and acknowledging how hard she has worked. She then asks Layla if she's finished with the marriage arrangements. Layla responds affirmatively, saying she's done most of it and that the rest can be handled after she returns to the capital. She adds that Countess Thabessa will take care of what remains. In her thoughts, Layla reflects on how the Countess had acted like she was the Duke's mother-in-law and how she had dragged Layla through one thing after another in silence. She had inserted herself into everything as though she had suddenly become someone of supreme importance. But for now, Layla tells herself that she can finally focus on her exams. She's already used up 2 days, and there's not much time left. She tells Sarah that she'll go to the capital tomorrow. Sarah lights up and says that she has prepared everything already. Then, she asks Layla a question out of nowhere, whether she likes candy. Layla looks at her, puzzled by the sudden shift, and asks why she's bringing that up. Sarah explains that she and the other maids made candy in the kitchen that morning and offers to let Layla try one. Layla smiles faintly and accepts the offer. She unwraps the candy and places it on her tongue, recognizing the sweet, familiar flavor. It's strawberry. As the taste spreads across her mouth, a memory flashes in her mind, one of the Emperor telling her that whenever she felt down, eating strawberry candy would help lift her mood, that he hoped it would bring her comfort. She repeats the words strawberry candy in her mind and smiles quietly to herself. The flavor is gentle, soft, and full of warmth. Sarah, standing by her side, asks with a bright expression whether the candy is good and whether she wants another. Layla chuckles lightly and tells her that one is enough and thanks her for it. Sarah's face falls a bit and she asks nervously if the candy wasn't good, wondering if Layla doesn't like it. Layla quickly assures her that's not the case and affirms that it was actually really good, especially the strawberry flavor. Sarah beams with joy, clearly thrilled by the compliment. Layla thanks her again, smiling softly. She then decides that she needs to wake up early the next morning for her journey back to the capital, which means she has to sleep early tonight. She changes into her nightclothes, lays down on her bed, and begins to drift slowly into sleep. The world around her fades gently into silence. But just as her eyes grow heavy and her breathing evens out, a sudden, familiar sound startles her awake. Her eyes snap open, heart thudding with recognition. Sitting up quickly, she realizes what it is and murmurs aloud, wondering if it could be that the rainy season is already upon them. She rises from bed and walks toward the window to shut it, but as she reaches it and gazes outside, her hand freezes midair. Her breath catches in her throat. Raindrops are already falling in steady, glistening lines across the glass, soaking the earth below. A strange unease curls in her chest. She blinks in disbelief, asking herself quietly if this is truly the start of the rainy season. The timing feels far too early. Her heart races as a chill seeps into her bones. The rain continues to pour, and with it comes a creeping anxiety. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 4. Don't forget to subscribe and ensure to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time.